How about now?
Ooh, now you're louder in here.
Yeah, should be. Just a bit. Sounds good? Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good, good, good. Excellent. All right, so with that, we're gonna continue the journey of Theodora Vampire, and we're on night 8.
Man, she's been a vampire for a whole week.
Yeah, she's been a vampire for a week, and
Crazy.
so we're just gonna dig right back in. So I think last time we started meeting some of our potential allies, and we started working with them a little bit. And then I think we just need to rest up for this night right now.
I'm sorry. Someone just DM'd me.
Oh, you're good.
Is there a decision I need to make?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Phew.
Unfortunately, the romance Kadir option is not available in this game.
What?
Yeah.
Bullshit. I mean,
Yeah.
of all the eligible bachelors I've come across so far, it seems like Kadir and the Thin Blood Primogen seem nice.
Oh, Larson?
Yeah.
I mean, big hair,
yeah.
but aside from the big hair, he seems like a relatively normal guy.
Yeah, Larson is like the closest to being a good dude out of all these people, I feel. On the other hand, I have to imagine he doesn't like us anymore.
Oh no, he is.
We had a good start, maybe, but I mean, in all likelihood, I doubt main plot Larson will remember that side quest Larson had that happen to him. But you never know, maybe.
Yeah. But Larson is also married. You have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, he has a
might
family.
Have a child or something. I don't know.
Oh shit! Like we talked about things you can do as a thin blood that you can't do as a normal vampire last time. Is one of them have normal ass kids?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say have normal ass kids, but you can have children as a thin blood.
Are they also thin blooded, or are they basically just human?
They are essentially at about the same level as a ghoul, but without any of the drawbacks of being a ghoul. Which is like the blood addiction and all that stuff. So they'll be a fairly exceptional human being.
Mm-hmm.
They are also signs of the apocalypse, so nobody likes them.
Oops.
Yep. Kadir al-Asmai, the sheriff of New York City, is knocking at the door to your haven.
I think I left my katana here.
Did I leave my katana?
Theodora, I know you're in there.
The sight comes as more than a little shocking. If he had business with you, you'd either expect to see him already inside, or never see him coming at all. Yet there he is on the other side of the peephole, patiently and politely waiting for you to let him in.
Do vampires in this obey, like, you must invite me in rules at all?
They don't have to, but I mean, the polite ones do anyway.
Okay, yeah.
It's a flaw you could take.
Yeah, you can take like some supernatural flaws, which are like essentially like can't cross running water, repelled by crosses, can't be near garlic, stuff like that.
Optional.
You carefully unlock the door and face him in silence. Evening. May I come in? You simply stare at him. Your lack of an answer doesn't faze him, and your lack of resistance as he starts walking inside has obviously been interpreted as permission.
This is bullshit. I didn't even get to pick a ... dialogue option.
Once inside, he starts looking around as you cautiously stay by the door. Haven't really had time to make this place your own yet, have you? Feels like Langley's apartment through and through. A secluded study where nobody studies anything.
Ooh.
Hey man, I already got my MBA. I worked hard.
Look at the books on this shelf.
Yeah.
Obviously meant to impress guests, not to be read. They reveal nothing about their owner aside from the aching desire to be taken seriously as an intellectual.
Damn, why is he reading her?
He picks one of them up and smirks before putting it away. The Phenomenology of Spirit next to all this garbage poetry. We can make a bet. If she's read more than 20 pages, I owe you $50 and a gallon of blood. The kind of place that self-professed hermits entomb themselves to suffer. Considering how much you have to run around these nights, you probably only use it to shelter from the sun and rest, right? Even though he's obviously making an effort to come off as non-threatening, it's impossible to forget the first impression he made. You still see him as a fierce predator, trying hard not to expose his true colors. You sense a familiar fight-or-flight response as you struggle to find a diplomatic answer to his last question. If Kadir is bothered by your silence, he doesn't let it show. He keeps walking around, toying with whatever catches his eye. Eventually, he speaks up again. Watch any baseball lately? If I had to guess, you strike me as a Red Sox fan. Now he's inviting you to talk in a more direct manner. You attempt to overcome your physical reaction to him and reply as casually as you can. There it is!
You kind of fucking ruined baseball for me when you were like, here's a fun baseball metaphor about how I'm gonna murder you if you piss me off one too many times.
Yeah.
I cannot believe they gave you this.
They gave you 3 different ones? Okay, so, real quick, Austin, have you played Tyranny at all?
Yeah, I have. I love it.
I was like, oh man, I hope I get a glare silently option.
Yeah.
Let's go with, okay, I was gonna say the third one, but yeah.
Yes. Your mind keeps going back to that night when everything was changed forever. Waking up in hell with a body next to you, spending a night in that underground sweatbox, unsure of what will happen next, that endless car ride.
Caramel dancing.
3 strikes. A bloodthirsty crowd. That blade.
$20 in his pocket.
A rebirth, a baptism by fire, a frightening executor who made sure the flames scarred your spirit. As you look into his face, you realize he's read the emotions from yours. Not in the mood to exchange pleasantries, There's no animosity in his voice. He's just stating a fact. Let me get straight to the point, then. He momentarily stops caring about his surroundings, turning all of his attention to you and demanding the entirety of your attention in return. You see, there's something I've realized over the years. In large part, I may have just been hired to look menacing with a sword, but my job is all about seeing through bonds and relationships. The Camarilla would be safe as long as its members adhered to certain social contracts, making their dealings and affinities plain for everyone to see, but that obviously remains a pipe dream. This is a community of born conspirators, overly ambitious gangsters and politicians, monsters in denial, all sorts of tragically broken individuals. They are driven by desires that make them incompatible with the Masquerade, incompatible with prolonged survival of the Camarilla, incompatible with the methods I use to operate. And so, I am doomed to be like a cop, constantly insulted behind my back, maybe for a good reason, but immediately called for help whenever someone loses their tableware. Or like an Agatha Christie protagonist, outwardly assisted by everyone, but constantly lied to about everyone's pasts and motivations, even if my failure to solve the mystery might be the end of us all. He tries to sound like he's peacefully resigned to his fate, but it's easy to detect a tinge of regret in his voice, a voice belonging to someone who once had bigger ambitions than this. What broke him?
I stubbed my toe.
So you see, for this detective, the why done it is far more important than the who done it or how done it. When you understand all the players and their mutual obligations, you easily understand every crime. But of course, the kindred know it, so they devise ways to make my job much harder, just like conspiracies between 2 unrelated actors that depend on scratching each other's backs for mutual security. Or they enforce a blood bond to make someone unexpectedly their thrall, a boss serving their employee, a rebel serving a tyrant, just because one is regularly being forced to drink another's blood. What has Sophie seen in you? Why does the prince keep asking me about your actions? How come you're being pushed to build your own coterie so fast?
So quickly.
You are surrounded by unclear motivations which you yourself don't understand. That unnerves me, and it should unnerve you as well.
Imagine Theodora actually just side noting so quickly as he's going. He just strike two.
Right.
Number 2. Oh, and what are your motivations?
Finally, you manage to raise your voice. Kadir notices the effort and smiles softly. So you haven't gone mute since the last time I saw you. Good. Well, I'm here for a selfish reason. I need to develop a rapport with you to better fulfill my obligations. Last time we met, I couldn't see you as my equal. Now that you've been accepted into the Camarilla, what choice do I have? I'd understand if you didn't want to see my face again, but I'm one of the faces of the New York City community, and as long as you're a part of it, it's going to be impossible to avoid me. Especially when I have business with you, and I do. As you might have guessed by now, one of my tasks is uncovering and understanding your bonds, and one of them might endanger our community. Well, that's not menacing at all. What is he talking about?
I mean, he already knows I'm involved with Sophie. It's like patently obvious, so I doubt he's like, "Oh man, I've discovered you're involved with Sophie."
Yeah, I was there.
Well, technically, you could have fucked up absolutely everyone so far, so I guess the most likely answer is Kaiser.
That's a good one.
Is this about Kaiser?
Kadir shakes his head.
Oh.
That leper is bad news if you ask me. But who doesn't trade information with him these days? No. They're not a major player. He produces a file from underneath his coat and passes it to you. This is our troublemaker. You open the file and see some printed photos. You freeze up as you recognize the face and are overwhelmed by a flood of repressed memories. Newman!
Who
From
the fuck is
Seinfeld?
Benjamin Newman. The asshole who made the last few years of your life a living hell. The sexual harassment, the mobbing, the way he kept delegating all of his obligations to you without ever letting you reap the fruits of your labor. The way he stole your soul. Goddamn prick. You look up at Kadir expecting answers. Apparently your company is in trouble. Lots of financial irregularities, and Mr. Newman is all too happy to testify that the one employee who's just suddenly disappeared is to blame. The story is as fishy as it gets, but your disappearance is being investigated and a lot of people are searching for you. It attracts attention to us, and as such, it must be stopped.
Well, gosh, man, that seems like a flaw in your system, not me.
Must be stopped. Sounds threatening. You dread thinking what he's planning. I'll arrange for you two to meet tomorrow so that you can straighten the situation out and say goodbye to the life you've forsaken. He'll arrange what? Your eyes must look like saucers right now. Usually these matters are left to my discretion, and I can't think of an easier solution. The lost sheep reappears, takes care of unfinished business, and disappears, never to be seen again. Nobody cares. It's simple, it's clean. No contrived schemes, no unnecessary victims. And it gives me an opportunity to learn more about you as I observe. When neonates interact with kind they used to hold dear, their true natures are laid bare for everyone to see.
It's simple. It's clean. The way you're making me feel
feel
tonight.
It's hard to let it go. He goes into the car, you just hear...
You walk away.
Of course he's invested in being kind to you, or he's making clear his self-serving intentions so that you don't start figuring them out yourself. Any objections? Any alternatives are probably worse. You shake your head. Very well. I'll arrange a meeting and drive you there tomorrow. Better come up with a load of bull that's easy to swallow. He disappears from the apartment, leaving you as confused as the last time he closed the door on you. God damn it. You need to think it through. For a long time, you just sit in your haven, lost in your thoughts, thinking about how revenge is a dish best served cold. Alright, who do we want to see? We want to go back to Agathon? We want to move over to D'Angelo, Tamika, Hope?
Okay, so just want to confirm. So we so we did part 2 for both Agathon and D'Angelo, right?
I believe so.
Okay, then let's do part 2 of Tamika.
Okay. Upon returning to your haven, you find a small scrap of paper lying on your window sill. Need a favor if you're still up to it. Meet me in Prospect. Tam. Once again, you cross the gate of Prospect Park and head straight to where you last saw the feral duo. Minutes pass. Finding no sign of Tamika, you begin to worry that something might have happened to her. Suddenly, you hear rustling coming from the nearby bushes, and it's not the stray cat kind of rustling either.
Number 2. Hey, you in the bushes. You know I can hear you, right?
The rustling stops, if only for a second. Suddenly, the bushes part, and Raoul looks out, desperately trying to look confident. He's just wiping leaves and shit off of himself. Yeah, that's only because I wanted you to.
I was picking berries for Thanksgiving. What business is it of yours?
Listen, I wanted to have a word before Tam gets here. She seems to like you for whatever strange reason. But the way I see it, you're a nuisance at best. At worst, you're a threat.
Number 2. I'll just give it some time. You'll warm up to me yet.
Got it.
That whole suave asshole routine might work on your dipshit cami friends, but I'm not impressed. Tamika is my sister, in every sense of the word that counts. Anything happens to her that I find even remotely your fault, I'm coming after you. Is that clear?
Number 1. Crystal, now get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah. Just want to make sure we understand each other. What I'm saying is, if anything happens to Tamika, I'm holding you accountable.
Yeah, you literally just said that, guy, and I told you that it was crystal clear.
All of a sudden, the sound of footsteps reaches
I love it.
your
It just
ears.
goes back and forth for like 3 more iterations of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying that I'll hold you accountable. You understand?
You're accountable.
Yes. I'm like, because if anything happens to her,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
You're
say
accountable. It's your fault.
Like he explains accountable to you. He pulls out a dictionary.
It means that it's in your account, like your bank account. You understand, like the conversational metaphor.
And I'm gonna cash that check if you understand what I'm saying.
What's your routing number? What the fuck is happening?
Both you and Raoul turn just in time to see Tamika emerge from behind an old sycamore tree. It's hard to tell just how long she's been listening in on your conversation. In any case, she walks up and speaks, addressing no one in particular. Ooh.
Did I miss anything?
Number 1. Your brother's worried about you. He seems to think I'm a bad influence.
Oh.
In an instant, her voice goes from mockingly sweet to stern and unyielding. Her next words sound like a challenge.
Is that true, Raoul? You think I can't take care of myself?
God damn it, Tam. That's not what this is about, and you know it.
I know, big brother. You meant well. You always mean well.
Screw it. Why do I even bother? And with that, Raoul takes his leave.
You're accountable, by the way.
Tamika waits in silence, just long enough to make sure he can no longer hear her, and addresses you.
I have a favor to ask.
Number 2. Okay, what is it?
I have an errand to run. I was hoping you'd come with me. There's a place east of here. It's a short walk. We should be back in about 2, maybe 3 hours.
Number 2. 3 hours, huh? You call that a short walk?
Sorry. I'm used to much longer distances than that. I've forgotten that everyone is.
Tamika and Raoul are Gangrel.
You think you can handle it?
These fucking outdoorsy types. I was a fucking corporate middle manager. You think I had time to fucking walk for 3 hours in a park as a daily regimen? Number 3. Sure, we can go now if you're ready.
Well, all right.
And so, you head toward the parking lot, accompanied by Tamika and a lot of unanswered questions. Following Tamika's directions, you finally arrive at the Evergreen Cemetery, one of the oldest burying grounds in Brooklyn. You enter through the southwestern gate and follow your companion through the sea of tombstones. It's a nice enough place as far as graveyards go, much less homogenized than the usual flat field littered with identical markers. Tamika confidently presses on, swerving and weaving along a pre-programmed path. It's clear she's been here more than a few times. Finally, she makes a sharp left and takes a few more steps down a gravel walkway, coming to a sudden stop in front of a modest headstone. The inscription reads, Luca Santiago, beloved sister and daughter, born 1991, taken from us too soon. With her eyes fixed on the gravesite, she lets out an absent-minded utterance.
I need a moment alone. Not too long. 5 minutes at most.
3 hours at the most.
You look around in search of a good spot to wait for her and pass the time. At the far end of the nearby lawn, you notice a long bench situated under a weeping willow. Suddenly you hear voices, distant but slowly approaching. Judging by the tone and timbre, you're guessing it's a couple of teenagers out to get their late-night kicks among the dearly departed. Might be a good chance to feed. Then again, you could just pass the time walking around the area. It's actually quite nice in a dark and somber kind of way.
Teenagers. Unspecified sex. Could work.
You're also not hungry.
Yeah, I'm like doing okay. On the other hand, I get so few opportunities seemingly that I'm always reluctant to pass them up. But I'm sensing maybe there's like some side content or little description that I can get if I take a walk that I won't get if I just wait around or feed. So let's try that.
All right.
I guess I'll just take a walk. Don't take too long.
She throws you a razor-sharp glare.
Yeah, like I said, 5 minutes.
You spend a few minutes walking around, taking in the sights and reading the various inscriptions on some of the older headstones. Finally, you get back to this tree and find Tamika sitting on the bench. Without a word, you sit next to her. You look over to her and, doing your best not to stare, she looks down, crossing her arms and putting her hands on her shoulders. In an instant, the ferocious savage disappears, replaced by a vulnerable young woman.
I think I'm done.
I could be nice and say and phrase it as number 1, but you made me walk 3 hours out here. I feel like you owe me at least a modicum of explanation, so I'll say number 2. Luca, huh? So, who was she?
A sister. And a friend. I'm sorry. I'm being monosyllabic again, aren't I?
She looks away. You can tell she's struggling to open up to you, so you remain silent, trying not to make her uncomfortable.
Why, Tamika, not very squipedalian of you.
I was embraced not far from here, in the cemetery. A fitting spot, I suppose. It was close to a decade ago. I'd been on the road for a couple of years at that point, hitchhiking from one town to another. New York was supposed to just be another stop. And then I met Jezebel. She was strong, smart, independent, seemed like someone I can trust, someone I could get close to. She never made me feel inadequate or ashamed, and she can hold her own in a fist fight too. Funny thing, though, she only wanted to meet during nighttime. I didn't think much of it, even came up with excuses for her. Busy, eccentric, whatever worked. Until one night, she sank her teeth into my neck.
You know what? Let's bellyache a little. Let's say number 1. Hey, at least you got to know your sire. Can't say the same for myself.
For a brief moment, she looks at you with genuine sympathy.
I'm sorry.
She then looks away, as if slightly embarrassed by her own reaction.
Anyway, she left soon after turning me. I think the conclave of Prague really shook her up.
Number 3? What this? Wait, the conclave of what now?
Prague. It's a city in Central Europe. It was supposed to be neutral ground, a good place to discuss politics and strategy. It ended up almost turning into a civil war. Next thing you know, the anarchs are expunged from the Camarilla. And all they had done for our kind, the blood they spilled, didn't amount to a thing. I can't blame Jezebel for feeling betrayed, but yeah. Even though I still had Raoul and Luca, I was still furious and terrified. Luca died a few years later. Operation Lights Out, they called it. It was a coordinated assault by the Second Inquisition. A genocide by any other name. Her family got together and brought up a plot and buried an empty casket. I guess they wanted some closure. Can't fault them for that. Even though she's not really here, I come and visit from time to time. Reminds me of who I am. Keeps me in check. Keeps the beast at bay. Also, this being the place of my embrace, you have to appreciate that level of irony.
She straightens up and looks at you as if something just occurred to her.
Sorry. I don't know what came over me. One minute I'm all grunts and stares, and the next, I'm giving you my biography.
That's alright, it's a visual novel, these things happen.
I guess I'm just tired of being scared, alone.
Number 2. You're looking for a place to belong.
In all the wrong places, it seems. At this point, I'm just looking for something to believe in. Someone I could give a damn about.
Huh. The rare 4 choices.
Mm-hmm.
So, what has been established so far about the Anarchs? Are they just everyone who is not Camarilla?
Correct. And the Gangrel, they imply it, but they don't straight up state it. The Gangrel have left the Camarilla. as of the convocation at Prague.
I see. But they didn't phrase it as they kicked the gangrel out. They said they kicked the anarchs out, but the anarchs would have already not been part of the Camarilla, right?
Correct. Well, so it used to be more of like a, you could identify as an anarch in a Camarilla city, and that is your choice. But now it's more of a get the fuck out of our cities.
I see. I don't think my experiences so far would incline me to go to bat for the Camarilla here.
Sure.
On the other hand, it feels very hasty to say you have me. We've exchanged like 10 words so far.
What are you talking about? We've already gotten into backstories.
That's fair. And I don't know anything about the Anarchs except wasn't the guy who loved beer an Anarch?
Yeah.
So fuck those guys.
Beer Hat was an Anarch. And you'll meet some more of them as things go on.
Fuck, man, I guess I'm just gonna have to say you have Raoul. I don't know. You'll always have Raoul, I mean, unless he dies like the other person you had.
She smiles sadly.
Will I?
Until he dies like the other person I had.
Don't get me wrong. Raoul is my brother. The bond between us is not easily broken. But he's got ideas and ambitions of his own. He won't always be there to watch my back. I can't expect that of him.
You open your mouth.
That's surprisingly reasonable.
You open your mouth, but before you can make a sound, Tamika motions at you to keep quiet. She lifts her head and sniffs the air. Her ears perk up and her eyes widen. Suddenly, she pushes you with all of her strength, sending you flying off the bench. Before you even hit the ground, an immense shape flies into view and smashes down onto the bench, splintering it into pieces. With the blood surging through your veins, you pounce onto your feet. You look at the mass of fur and muscles that just nearly pulverized you. The creature rears its head and gives you a deranged stare. Then it turns to Tamika. She seems utterly terrified, frozen in place as if she literally just saw a ghost. You notice the creature shift its weight as if preparing to pounce.
Are we in the same setting as Werewolf the Apocalypse?
We are in the same setting as Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Yell to like in fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! When lightning is fucking raining out. Be very careful, Joey!
You do have some fortitude.
Yeah, let's fortitude.
Fortitude is super defense.
Yeah.
Feeling your body strengthen with inhuman resilience, you jump in front of the beastly assailant, breaking the force of his attack. Still, the sheer weight of the creature slams you onto the ground. If it wasn't for your supernatural endurance, you're pretty sure your spine would turn to powder. Suddenly, the beast lets out a pained roar. In a flash of consciousness, you see Tamika hunched atop the monster's shoulders, her claws plunged into its eye sockets. Floundering like a fish out of water, the monster finally manages to shake the feral Valkyrie off his back. The creature then turns towards you. For a second or two, it moves its mouth awkwardly as if trying to remember how to form words. Stay out my ground.
Nice.
The creature, kind of like half joking. Is this just straight up a werewolf?
No. The creature runs off. The creature runs off toward a nearby clearing when all of a sudden a gunshot sends it tumbling into the ground. A group of well-armed men in body armor emerge from the shadow in an orderly formation and move in closer around the creature.
Oh no.
God. Fuck, man. Number what?
Okay. Not sure who the men are. You decide not to immediately assume they're hostile. After all, the enemy of my enemy, etc. And so you start making your way toward the group. You only make it a few steps before Tamika grabs you by the arm. She gives you a bewildered look.
What the hell are you doing? We need to hide now.
Deferring to her judgment, you promptly follow her behind a nearby bush. Luckily, the men don't appear to have spotted you.
Like my actual brain said, like, obviously number 3, but I was like,
You're
now
also
why would they give me these 2 other options if they weren't there to be tested?
From the relative safety of the thick foliage, you watch in silence as the group of armed men subdue the creature using steel nets and cattle prods. In the corner of your eye, you catch Tamika looking away as if she finds this whole spectacle somehow distasteful. She speaks under her breath, her voice shaking.
Can we get out of here?
You see no reason to object. The walk back turns out to be a quiet and somber experience. You both walk in silence, the city a blur of lights and cars careening by. You look over to Tamika. She seems lost in her thoughts. Finally, you decide to break the silence.
You want to go to the club near here? Or perhaps a murder scene? Well, those first 2 are very obvious questions, but, we'll be nice this time and ask number 3. You gonna be alright? That thing back there really spooked you.
I don't know.
She catches herself and quickly attempts to hide her vulnerability.
Yeah, I think so. It's just that I've always heard stories about the scarred one. I never thought I'd actually run into him.
Number 2. The scarred one?
That's the only name he's known by. He's a cautionary tale for young Gangrel. He's what happens when you let the beast take over. I always figured him to be more of a metaphor. Seeing him in real life, it's like if a Christian just happened to run into Judas Iscariot one day. Seeing him hunt down by the SI. I don't know what to think. I don't even know where to start thinking.
Deciding to give her some space, you spend the rest of the walk in silence. Soon enough, the familiar tree line of Prospect Park comes into view. You stop by the entrance nearest to Tamika's haven. She keeps walking, without so much as a word or glance in your direction. She stops after several paces and turns back to you.
I'm sorry. Thank you for coming with me, but I have a lot of shit to figure out, and once I do, I'll let you know.
And with that, she disappears among the trees. Seeing no point in sticking around, you take your leave.
All right, then.
And we rest.
That white was on screen for 2 seconds before getting bagged and tagged.
Yeah. Knock, knock. You'd ask, who's there? But you don't know if the Sheriff of New York would play along. When you open the door, you see him toying with the car keys he's holding in his hand. Ready to go,
I can't
fledgling?
wait to get back into his car.
As soon as we're done with this game, we are going to go back to the next trails.
That's the plan, anyway.
You don't feel like it, but you give him a nod nevertheless. Excellent. Stay close. He leads you down to the vehicle he's parked nearby. Once again, he takes the wheel, literally and figuratively. Everything inside is just the way you remember it, down to the rear view mirror reflecting the intense stare of your guide. However, the trip feels notably different. The last time Kadir drove you around, he was forcibly dragging you away from your old life. This time he's pulling you back into it. Goddamn Newman. I'm getting violent just thinking about him. Newman. Let me tell you how it's going to go. As I said, I've arranged a meeting between you and your kin. It's going to take place somewhere you should know very well. I'll watch over you two from a safe distance to make sure you adhere to the rules. You should know those very well, but I'll reiterate just so you can't say I didn't warn you. Don't do anything that would violate the Masquerade. Don't establish some secret routes of contact. I will know. Do treat it as the last time the two of you will ever meet. Take this chance to wrap everything up. Here's your story. You're fine. You found yourself at a crossroads, decided to radically change your life, and move out of the city. The subway is unbearable, the rent is too high, they've heard it all. However, you do not appreciate being accused of a crime you didn't commit, so you're back, both to clear your name and strike fear into the heart of the real culprit. By now, you should know how to cause fear among the living, right? He smirks at you. Have fun. As long as you don't leave a mess for me to clean up, we should be good. The car makes a sudden turn. I'll leave the finer details to you, just be so kind and don't make me regret it. You can sense he's going out of his way for you, but doesn't try to force you into gratitude by stating it plainly. If you know, you know. He'll see if you're worthy of his aid. We're here. You take a look around and recognize your destination. He was right. It is a familiar place. It's the office in which you wasted the best years of your life. Newman should be up there. Apparently someone is blackmailing him with documents proving his penchant for embezzlement. The poor guy's stuck in his office, and he's probably pretty shaken up. The documents don't exist, but it would be a shame if someone went there, wiped the floor with the man, found proof that he pilfered the funds, and forced him to admit his crimes. He turns off the engine and relaxes comfortably in his seat. You silently leave the car and head straight for Newman's office. The elevator ride up just doesn't seem to end. After what feels like 5 hours, but in reality is closer to 30 seconds, you finally reach your floor. Your ex-boss is sitting in his office, just like Kadir said.
Is this our office? I thought this was like our apartment.
No, this is your office.
Oh.
He looks, how can you put it, as if he's just Googled body language of alpha males and attempted to poorly copy the most cartoonish posture in order to intimidate the blackmailer. Out of habit, you take a deep breath as you step inside his office. Theodora? He immediately relaxes. It's just Theodora, his eyes say as a sly grin appears beneath them. Forget to ask for a vacation? People were worried, you know. Not to mention overworked to hell and back, then overworked some more. Someone had to take over your responsibilities. And guess what? Just as we started digging into your work, some unexpected financial irregularities started popping up. We'll need to work on a common story to explain those, you see? You keep quiet and just stare him down. The poor idiot still thinks he's the predator in this room. Let's see how long it takes for him to realize his mistake. Newman senses you're different somehow. He attempts to stare back but fails to withstand your glare. Starts to wonder what's going on and quickly arrives at a conclusion. Wait a second. So you're the one who sent that message. Now that's a laugh. He starts approaching you. Sweetheart, if I'm going down, you're going down with me. You think you could convince anyone that you never knew what was going on around here? Fat chance. And even if you did, you know, my friends, they'd never let you live it down. He's right in front of you, licking his lips, pondering the best way to display his complete physical superiority. You won't give him the chance.
Damn.
just immediately.
Yeah, just fuck you.
Oh boy.
I mean, presence is one of those things where it's not masquerade breaching. It's soft power, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that I wish I knew, like, whether number one is, like, completely fucking annihilate him in a way that means you're obviously not human, or just, like, slap him around a little.
You'll pretty much just beat the shit out of him.
Okay, and throw him outside the building. Does that mean, like, throw him out the window, murdering him?
I don't know. I've never done it. Yeah, we can actually save scum so that we can see all the options here, because this is one of the unique things to Theodora as a venture. Yeah. So I'm going to save and exit real quick. I'm going to load back up, and we're just going to watch all three. Starting with punching bag. Your right fist slams into the left side of his face. He almost falls down on his stomach, but when your left fist meets his right cheek, the trajectory of his body changes and he lands on his ass instead. He sits there on the floor, dazed, unable to comprehend what's happening. He only raises his eyes with a semblance of understanding as you lean over him. He watches listlessly as you deliver a destructive sucker punch right in his huge gut. He howls like a wounded animal. Your instincts tell you this is a man who's never been on the receiving end of physical violence before. Right hook, left straight, left hook, right straight. Rinse and repeat. Inhuman screams fill the office.
Yeah.
There's a small voice in the back of your head telling you not to go overboard. You treat it like a boxing match referee, letting it hold you back only when absolutely necessary. Eventually, you're filled with cathartic satisfaction as he's covered in bruises and blood. You laugh and laugh and laugh. It's the first time since forever you're happy to be in this office. Fuck! 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 A born boardroom predator has met his better in a place he least expected it. You slowly start walking toward him. Stop! Stop! I get it! I'll do it! I'll fucking do it! With shaking hands, he scrambles toward a safe on his shelf. He opens it and takes out some documents inside. This is what you want, right? This is what you want! You rip the papers from his hand and browse them. These should be enough to, as Kadir would put it, prove his penchant for embezzlement. I'll clear your fucking name! Tell them somebody else! You twist your heel into his hand. He screams. I did it! I'll tell them I did it!
Ooh.
Fucking mic drop. Number 3.
You simply
Say
turn
not
around
a fucking thing.
and start walking away. You walk into the elevator, press the ground floor button, and wave at Newman as the doors start closing. He mumbles something under his breath and winces in pain. Alright, let's...
Oh, we can only save and exit, so you'd have to, like, Alt F4.
Alt F4.
Yeah, well, let's just let this play out for a hot second, in case he's like, that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
And if he's not, we can leave that canon, because that was fun.
Yeah. Back to Kadir's car. Once you close the door, he instantly puts his foot on the gas pedal. Walking off the pitch with no regrets. Said everything you had to say.
I wiped the floor with him and got the documents that should keep him in check. That asshole will be looking over his shoulder constantly for the rest of his life.
Kadir smiles deviously. Looks like you can take care of business, as expected. I don't need to tell you to hang on to those documents, but keep in mind that you can use them for more than a security guarantee. We're always looking for more contacts among the big fish. Once you settle in, you can use what you know of Newman to convince the elders he's better off as your ghoul. Now that's an enticing thought. You're surprised at his suggestion. The car speeds up to cross an intersection before the light turns red. You give Kadir a good hard look. Why are you not
You're mean to me? That's such a
It's
lame
such a
line.
weird thing to say.
Yeah.
Number 2. Thanks.
Doesn't feel like a, how do you call it, very vampire thing to say, but you say it nevertheless. He's visibly taken aback, and his usually furrowed brow smooths out for a moment. Then he takes on a seriously, slightly sorrowful expression. Don't suck up to me, kid. Mr. Bad Guy is still here, and without a doubt he will go back to decapitating suckers like you any time now.
Oh, Kadir.
The car starts
You're just
slowing
saying
down.
that so that I know you care.
Yeah.
This feels like if this was like a dating sim or like a Persona game.
Kadir's the
this-
tsundere.
Yeah, this is just like the weirdest level up or like
Yeah.
what are those things called?
A social
Relationship
rank up?
flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is the weirdest one for Kadir.
We're here. You look out the window and see your haven. Take care. I'll see you around. Just pray I don't have to see you too often. You leave the car and start walking to your haven, thinking about Kadir. Can't say you're fond of him, what with the welcome he gave you and all, but after tonight you can't say you aren't either.
Hell yeah.
You're gonna need some more time to understand him, that's for sure.
All right.
Alright.
All right, so we're
Hope.
spending all of our remaining time with Benoit.
Yep.
We're gonna
Alright.
finish Agathon.
We're gonna finish Agathon. Alrighty. One more visit to the Chantry of the Five Boroughs and to Agathon.
Transbun in chat. If Kadir were a Ventru, he'd feed exclusively on Mets players.
Awful.
Oof.
Rough.
Would he also be able to feed from people who are benched, or if you were once?
Yeah, you gotta be first string.
Oh, he's dead. He's gonna start.
That's rough because each time you feed on them, they're gonna get sick and like get taken off the team. You're gonna ruin the fucking Mets over the course of a year. One of these nights you'll have to buy something, you reflect as you ring the doorbell of the occult bookstore that serves as Agathon's haven. Perhaps something about auras or the tarot. The same sleep-deprived blonde woman you saw on your first visit opens the door for you. Each kindred has their own servants, and Agathon seems to go for the tired Wiccan mom type. Oh, it's you. Come on in. The woman disappears into the back room, even as you close the door behind you. Lacking any better directions, you make your way up the stairs. At first, you thought the chanting was part of the ritual soundtrack that plays in the shop even at night. As you reach the second floor, you realize that it's Agathon's voice. Yumo gwe gwe faijin sao, yumo gwe gwe. You come up just in time to see him standing in the middle of his ritual paraphernalia with his wrist cut open over a wrought iron stand holding a blood-red stone. As Agathon chants, blood drips from the wound in his wrist onto the stone. It looks as if it's absorbed into it. It's probably not a good idea to interrupt blood rituals, so you wait in silence as Agathon finishes. A few minutes later, he opens his eyes and smiles ruefully.
Walks up. What does this do?
Yeah. I've done so many of these rituals. I hope it's not too off-putting for you. Agathon smears a bit of his own blood over the wound, and you see it close. Looks like he does this so often he barely pays attention to it anymore. It's icky.
It's icky. Why are you mean to me? It's icky.
Why are you gross?
Number one. I don't mind. We're all vampires here.
That we are. Agathon picks up the blood-red stone from its stand. This is a bloodstone. Could be useful. He doesn't seem inclined to elaborate. Anyway, let's go. This is my favorite event chain in the entire game, though, so I'm very excited.
Oof.
Well, it might be my second favorite behind Hope's introduction. He pockets the stone and leads you back down the stairs and outside to his car. Soon you're on your way to Queens and Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. The poorly named Corona Park as of today.
Oh no, December 2019, bad timing.
It gets mentioned in the sequel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Flushing Meadows, home of fat elderly tennis players.
Yes. After parking the car, you follow Agathon on foot as he leads you deeper into the park. Coming to New York Park in the middle of the night might have worried you when you were alive, but now it's normal. If someone tries to mug you, it just means you'll have an opportunity to feed. Agathon walks with purpose, as if he knows exactly where to go. You see the Unisphere, a giant metal sculpture of the Earth, lit up so that park-goers can appreciate it at night, and globe heads can sit there and feel accomplished with what they think is the real world.
Oh god.
You're not sure how Agathon picks his ritual spot, but he must have a purpose in mind. The sculpture stands in the background, giving his preparations added
Using
dramatic
this
weight.
as a voodoo implement, I can curse the whole world.
Stand watch while I perform a ritual. It will reveal whether the notes we seek are here. I'll lose control of the incantation if you fail to keep me free of distractions.
Don't fuck up these event dialogues.
Doesn't look like there are many people around. You settle in for a boring half hour while Agathon mumbles and makes strange gestures, spilling drops of blood at regular intervals. From the outside, the ritual is not particularly flashy. Agathon repeats a mantra under his breath and walks with measured steps until he stops and turns around, walking back. It looks as if there's an invisible structure he must follow, unseen patterns and limits governing his movements. As choreographies go, it doesn't look particularly difficult to learn, but you suspect that there are hidden dimensions of skill and understanding involved. A lone, drunken woman walks towards you. Hard to say what she's doing at the park. She's a little older, white, dressed like a suburban divorcee. What's your friend doing? He's kind of hot.
Yeah, I feel like that's the appropriate voice
Yeah.
for this silhouette.
The woman's words are slurred by alcohol, but she seems to have decided that you are this evening's entertainment. Hey you, stop being weird and talk to me! The woman seems determined to walk past you toward Agathon. This looks like just the kind of interruption that he was worried about.
What is he? He's so handsome that everywhere he goes, he gets hassled.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
isn't he?
Well, I'm pretty confident we won't actually be able to, like, drink from this woman successfully, but it should keep her out of his way, so fuck it.
Alright. Agathon is deeply immersed in his ritual, so why not use the time you have constructively? You walk up to the woman, grab her from behind the shoulders, and sink your fangs into her throat. Blood tinged with alcohol and horniness flows into your mouth as the woman moans from the sudden pleasure of the kiss. I need to sit down. Just as you lick the wound closed, the woman collapses onto the ground, swaying, trying to sit upright. Suddenly, you hear a scream of rage. Startled, you turn around just in time to see Agathon running at the woman on the ground, his expression contorted with hatred. Did the woman make enough noise to interfere with the ritual? That doesn't explain why he's in such a rage.
I hate women!
That's Agathon's secret. He's an MRA.
Oh no! Planes the vest.
Every time I perform a ritual, I'm actually telepathically checking r/men's rights.
Yeah. MR Agathon.
Well, I think we're gonna intervene.
Alright. You step between Agathon and the woman and lift your hands up in an attempt to calm him down.
What are you doing? This is not you, Agathon.
Agathon looks at you wild-eyed. For a second, you're sure he'll attack you. You see him tensing for a punch. Suddenly, he snaps out of it, shaking his head, looking at the terrified drunken woman in disgust and embarrassment. Thank you. I'm so sorry you had to see that. I don't usually lose control.
Number one, I demand satisfaction. I know. What was that outburst?
It wasn't that woman. That was just a coincidence. Something triggered a ward. We have to go. Now. Agathon starts running toward his car, and you do your best to follow. Usually, Agathon drives more carefully than most humans you know, but now something is different. He's speeding, honking at every car that gets in your way. You're driving toward the Bronx, and twice Agathon almost collides with another car. He's clearly not used to driving quickly, but something is overriding his usual caution. You screech to a stop in front of a red tile apartment building. Agathon jumps out of the car and starts running, leaving you to take the keys from the ignition and close the doors. Agathon disappears up the stairs, and you follow his agitated shouting. Abuela! It's me! Javi!
His abuela?
You get to the 5th floor landing after a run that would have left your mortal self winded to find Agathon banging on an apartment door and fiddling with his keyring. A few of the neighbors poke their heads out into the hallway, but nobody intervenes. Agathon finds the right key and slams the door open, running inside. You follow, entering what looks like the home of an old Mexican lady. There are portraits on the mantelpiece and a crucifix on the wall. The apartment smells musty with old age, and you detect the faint odor of vampiric blood. Sylvia, where are you? You come to the living room to find a body covered by a blanket in the corner of a sofa. The television is on, but the sound is off. It looks like a Spanish language channel.
Telenova?
Agathon tears at the blanket, pulling it away in the panic. He reveals an old woman, waking up in a bleary-eyed confusion.
Javi? Why are you barging in like this? Who's your friend?
You're alive, abuela. Agathon hugs the old lady and then turns to you. You'll have to introduce yourself. I'll check the wards. Something triggered them and I'll have to see if they still work. Sylvia snuggles deeper into her blankets.
This is vampire business, isn't it? Always when there's trouble, it's the vampires.
You stare at her, startled. Clearly the masquerade hasn't held in this household.
Man, I
His
can't.
fucking abuela.
I can't fucking lie to this dude's grandma. Let's just be honest. Yes. Agathon is worried someone wants to hurt you. Anyway, I'm Theodora. You must be his grandmother.
Ugh, nobody wants to hurt me. Don't be silly. He's always worrying, that boy. This is about the girl who came to visit? I can tell. Covey was never good at keeping secrets. Ugh, so much like his mother.
You hear Agathon rummaging around the small apartment, almost as if he's scratching at something on the walls.
He's always doing that. Writing on the walls with blood. Making runes. I tell him to cover them with the photos and the paintings, but he won't listen, and I have to do it myself.
That explains the faint smell of vampire blood in the apartment.
Otherwise, how can I invite friends over for tea? They'll ask questions if I have runes all over my walls. It doesn't look like a Christian home anymore. God,
No.
I love this.
Number one. The girl who was here earlier, was her name Juno?
Yes, that's right. A pretty name, I suppose. She was just the kind of girl Agathon used to fall for. She was a vampire too, I expect.
I think pretty obviously she's not a vampire, so, well, at least I don't think she is, so I'll just say yes. Yes, she was.
I knew it. Poor girl. I suppose she had a life once.
Agathon returns to the living room, still agitated. She wanted to send a message. If we don't let her find the notes first, she'll hurt my abuela.
Oh no.
He glances meaningfully at the old woman.
Oh no, she won't. She gave you a message? She gave me a message for you, Javi.
The message was, if you don't let her find the notes, she'll hurt me.
She said to think very carefully whether your clan will really protect your loved ones.
Agathon stares at Sylvia, stunned and confused. She was here to tell me that? Maybe that's good. Doesn't sound like she wants to hurt you.
Well, she was a nice girl. I can tell.
Oh, abuela. Theodora, let's go. This is all we can do here. You say your goodbyes, and soon you're back outside sitting in Agathon's car.
God, that is so good.
What a catastrophe. Do you think Juno was there? The wards trigger when a vampire enters the perimeter, so Juno was there just as I was doing the ritual in the park. I'll take you to your haven. Agathon starts the car and begins the drive toward Manhattan. He appears agitated, emotions coursing under his stoic face.
He appears agathated.
Yeah.
I want to know about his grandmother. Your grandmother is a very spirited woman.
She's all I have left of my family. We came here from Mexico City when my parents were still alive. The kindred have always haunted my family. Every generation has its own tragedies. Agathon is gripping the steering wheel harder than he should, although he's back to his usual careful driving style.
Someone in the chat said the masquerade is nothing compared to Abuela.
She will throw a sandal at the prince.
She will introduce
I've
you
got
to
the.
Tonka.
Is that so? I have to ask Austin. Is the sandal thing from like drawn from some aspect of your life? Because you also did the sandal thing in Valor with Suheila's
not
mother.
from my life, but it is it's kind of a common thing among grandmothers and mothers who will imbue punishment via sandal.
I see. Let's go with number 2. I'm sorry this happened to your grandmother and that you have to fear for her safety.
This is what it's like for all kindred who have a mortal they love. The thing is, if you don't want to lose your battle with the beast, you should probably hold on to those relationships anyway, even when it hurts. Agathon drops you off in front of your haven. The experience leaves you with disquieting thoughts. You met Agathon's grandmother under awkward circumstances, but he clearly loves her very much. You don't know enough about the world of the kindred to say whether that's normal or not. It seems to keep Agathon connected to the world in a way that feels alien for some of the other kindred you've met. Perhaps there's a lesson in that. Wow.
So is that the end of Agathon's side plot?
Nope, Agathon has one more, so it's
Okay.
four per person.
Oh, wait, did we have to rest? I thought we could do another person.
Nope. We spent the first half of the evening fucking around with your boss.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the second half of the previous evening.
Nope.
My mistake.
All right. Who now?
Let's follow up with. By the way, are we on pace to be able to complete the everyone except Hope, or
I believe
do we
are still on pace to complete everyone except Hope. I will go ahead and let you know. After the second one, it doesn't really matter anymore.
Okay. Does that okay?
Completing 2 is what you want to do for sure. After the second, it doesn't matter anymore.
Okay. And does it matter which 2 we complete first? Like, do we get those 2?
I believe the 2 that you finish first are going to be the ones to back you up later.
Okay. All right, so I'm just thinking about, do we want I think I kind of want Agathon because I like him and he's a dork. So do we want D'Angelo or Tamika? I guess we can do their.
I will tell you, D'Angelo's ending is better than Tamika's. However, Tamika is also pretty good.
Okay. Well, I guess we can do their third stages before we commit. So let's do D'Angelo.
Alrighty. As you leave your haven, a homeless man bumps into you. You turn after him, but he blends into the crowd before you can even get a good look at his face. Instinctively, you check your pocket. A note? Looking at Manhattan Bridge. Come over. D.
I've heard that as "come over" smiley face.
Yeah.
D.
Knowing there are only so many places with a good enough view of the Manhattan Bridge, you decide to check the ones that aren't likely to be crowded this time of night. It doesn't take long before you hit the jackpot, Jane's Carousel. As you're walking along the pier, you notice a lonely figure sitting on the bench, steel flask in hand, his legs up on the railing. Soon enough, you hear a familiar voice. Evening turned to night, and as the final flickering rays of sunlight gave way to the kind of nocturnal shadows, so did the last jabbering tourists give way to a blessed silence. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling. Pausing mid-sentence, he leans back over the bench backrest and looks straight at you. Upside down, his face looks even creepier than usual. That I wasn't alone.
God, that's a funny visual.
Him just sitting there, looking at
Bent
the bridge
over the bench.
to himself.
Number 2. That flask. Is that what I think it is?
Depends on what you think it is. It's a little something from my private reserve. I call it the Drunken Sailor, because that's probably where it came from. He takes a sip and then points the flask in your general direction. Want some?
Oof.
I don't know if this is gonna be my bag, but it doesn't, like, if you try to feed and it doesn't work, like, you don't lose anything, right? You just don't.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Fuck it, whatever. Let's try. Sure, why not?
You smell the contents of the flask and immediately recoil. Even if it wasn't for the nasty whiff of cheap booze, the underlying scent of blood underneath isn't appetizing at all either.
Alright, never mind. Alright, never mind.
Won't hear me complaining. Not about that, anyway.
There's been another one. Killing, I mean. Down by the docks.
Number 1. Same MO? The blood, the graffiti?
Yep, it was our gal, all right. Victim sucked dry, same as before. Another sign on the wall. Something about impending doom and oh lord, he coming. The particulars escape me. You know, that night I saw her, she looked so frail, so innocent.
I'm glad we made sure that cop lady didn't catch her so that she could get away and kill some more.
Yeah. Deep inside, I was hoping she'd be spooked. Get out of town. Maybe, just maybe, that'd be the end of it. But that's me, you know. Hopelessly optimistic.
Yes, it was dumb. No, number 3? Do you have any idea where she might be?
Sorry, kid. Fresh out of ideas.
He raises the flask
Refilling as we speak.
and takes a swig as if to illustrate a point.
So anyway, I've set up a meeting. Neutral ground, public space. Shouldn't get too ugly. Still, I was hoping you could tag along.
Number 2, because I bet we're meeting the angry lady. Okay, so who are we meeting?
Takes another compulsive swig.
Better strap in, because this one's a doozy.
Number 1. Unless you want to introduce me to your parents, I can probably handle it. Come on, who is it?
Valerie.
Yeah. Number 3. That blood must be an amazing vintage, because you sound fucking hammered.
Hardy fucking har. Look, I know you two didn't exactly hit it off, but she's not as bad as you might think. I mean, in some respects, she's probably worse, but she can be reasoned with.
Once again, he goes for the flask, but stops himself mid-motion.
Look, the way I see it, we ain't got a choice. As much as I want to help Santa, she's clearly a few bats short of a belfry. More people are gonna die unless we do something about it.
Yeah, like letting her get apprehended, but... I hope this turns out to have had some value, because if it turns out that, like, it clearly would have been the best to just let her get taken in by Valerie, I will be very annoyed with D'Angelo's plot line. Number 1. Alright, fine, I get it. Lesser of two evils. Lead the way, then.
I like your attitude, kid. I know it sucks, but hey, if there's one thing life has taught me, you don't always get what you want.
Noticeably proud of his words of wisdom, he tries to top him off with one last swig. A single drop falls between his crooked teeth. He looks at the empty flask with the utmost contempt.
Well, ain't that fucking poignant.
Muttering a curse under his breath, he makes a valiant effort to get up off the bench. As he staggers, struggling to remain upright, you offer your shoulder to lean on. Cut to scene of him in his truck, just with the mirror set up again. Except you're sitting in the back part of the truck, so you're looking in through the back window. He shoots you a smile that's as crooked as it is affectionate.
Hey, kid.
You meet his gaze, trying to look friendly rather than condescending.
You're all right.
And with that heartfelt moment, you bid adieu to the sprawling vista and make your way toward the bridge. Next stop, Manhattan. Entering the park from Midtown Manhattan, you promptly take a spot by one of the alleys, not very deep into the park. Minutes pass. 5, 10, 15. You start to wonder if she's even going to show up. Suddenly, you hear a familiar voice, but with an unfamiliar tone. She sounds almost nice.
Hello, Ginny.
And there she is.
I sure forgot that her hair looked like that.
Yeah.
So surprising. It's like a balloon.
It's like a balloon. Walking along the side of the fountain. She looks less out of place here than back at that junkie-infested hovel, but only by a slight margin. Something tells you that there are only so many places she would feel at home, and probably not ones you would want to find yourself in.
Val,
She glances over to you, barely noting your presence.
Sorry about last time. Nothing personal, you understand. When I get caught up in the moment, I can get a bit intense.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, there's a feeling here.
Oh, I feel like he'll appreciate it, and she probably won't, so let's say number 1. Can you two just get a room? Because the sexual tension is just unbearable.
D'Angelo gives you a pleading look. He clearly doesn't want you to dwell on the subject.
You hear that, Ginny? Your friend has us all figured out.
She takes a step toward you. The smell of her perfume is overpowering.
Or maybe it's just jealousy. Although I'd be careful if I were you. Last time we got close, it didn't exactly work out for you. Speaking of which, how's that neck doing?
Number 2. You can't get my goat that easy. It's fine. I barely felt it anyway. Why are you so mean to me? You're icky.
Why are you so mean to me? She can tell you're lying. You can tell she's enjoying herself.
I'm so glad. Now, let's get down to business. To defeat
the hunt.
Oh my god, yes, thank you.
Number 1. We have a mutually beneficial proposition.
Does the pup speak for you, Ginny? Because I'm getting a weird Sorcerer's Apprentice vibe right now.
Yeah, give the kid a break, Val. We hear about Santa, the thin blood you're after. Girl's a threat. We need to find her. Figured we could do it faster if we work together.
Keep going, honey, because I have a feeling there's a catch coming.
The catch is...
You have to go on a date with me.
Awkward silence. It's not often you see him at a loss for words. Seeing him struggle, you decide to jump in.
Ooh.
Number 2. Yeah, we'll get a little back here. You have to not be a murderous bitch for like a day or 2.
See, now that's a deal breaker right there, sugar. If you want me to even consider it, you'll have to sweeten the pot.
Once again, she turns to D'Angelo.
Give me some of that sweet pot.
I bet tall, dark, and handsome over there might have some ideas. The temptation to be just so rude it's pressing down.
Oh boy. Alright, we'll just go with number 3 this time. Just tell us what you want.
Ooh. You're not fun anymore.
I want a cookie.
She wants a higher profile target, to show off to the prince what a good little scourge she is. That all you care about nowadays, huh? Playing the game? Climbing the ranks?
A smile creeps onto her lips. You can tell it's forced. D'Angelo definitely knows how to get under her skin.
I live in your toenail.
That's my Ginny. A big old brain and a heart to match.
Once again, she turns to you.
I knew right away he'd try to help this girl. He does love him a damsel in distress. But you, I'm not sure what your angle is.
One feels a little too holier than thou, considering my own still being kind of baffled that we just let her go and continue murdering people. So I don't think that's the tack I want to take. But I'm not really expecting to advance my vampire career by hanging out with D'Angelo, so we'll just go with number 3. What do you care?
I I don't, honey. Not really. It's called making conversation. So there. You know my terms. Contact me when you've made up your mind. Don't take too long, though. I'm a lucky girl. I might just find your little thin blood on my own. Still, I hope we can work together. We did make a good team back in the day, didn't we?
Oh no, am I replacement Valerie?
Slowly,
Yeah.
seductively, she puts her arms around his shoulders. She glances over to you, clearly enjoying how awkward it makes you feel.
Well, I'm not gonna say number 2. That's like,
It's rude.
wow, you have a thing for ugly people? D'Angelo's like, I'm right here.
Hey, I'm right here. Come on now. I mean, I get it, but shit.
All right, number 1. Can we get back to you wanting to rip my head off? Because that was actually way less uncomfortable.
Careful what you wish for. Anyway.
Withdrawing from the strange half-embrace, she flicks
my
D'Angelo's nose gently with her index finger. Almost instantly, she turns from flirtatious to dispassionate.
However this plays out, I have a feeling we'll meet again sooner than later.
She wants the D.
Until then.
Without sparing you another glance, she disappears down an unlit park alley.
Yeah, so how does, like, sex work as a vampire?
They can do it. It's weird, though, because, like...
It's usually
how do you get the pee-pee up with no blood?
You have to spend blood.
It is blood. You just push the blood in the direction, and
I see. I guess what I really meant is with no circulation.
You can temporarily circulate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They say it doesn't. They say it works different. It's like this isn't the same, and most just use it as a means to feed. But some other times they're just like, I do this to try and like feel human again, and
recapture something.
Usually it doesn't work very well. It's just kind of awkward when two vampires have sex because they both know that this is useless.
Yeah, like drinking each other's blood is more
way better.
Analogous. Like if two vampires are like into each other, they're drinking each other's blood.
And if vampires drink each other's blood, they will quickly become useless as they fall in love with each other and just become obsessed with one another because of the blood bond that was mentioned earlier. Finally, he turns back to you as if breaking some spell he was under.
Well, that could have gone a lot worse.
Were you guys a thing?
Yeah, let's just ask number 3. Okay, I have to ask. Did you and she ever...
Nope, not going there. Val and I, we got some history. Some of it good, some of it bad. Let's leave it at that.
D'Angelo gave her the D.
And kid, don't be fooled. Val likes to play around, but she will rip your fucking guts out and stuff them up your ass if it means she can get what she wants. And right now, she wants me to give her Larson.
Number 2. Wait, what does Larson have to do with any of this?
He doesn't, not directly. It's just he might have some less than admirable chapters in his biography. Might have done some pretty egregious shit. And Valerie knows a certain handsome someone might have evidence of said shit, which would allow her to bring him down. And bringing down a primogen, even one as lame as Larson, is a pretty big deal.
He squints, rubbing the bridge of his nose.
Ah, fuck it. I'm heading back to the office. Need to put my feet up, get some blood flowing to the old noggin. You coming?
You nod. Why the hell not? And so, you make your way towards 5th Avenue. You got a long way ahead of you and a lot of stuff to figure out. Although it's not your first visit, you still find it hard to navigate the dark, rust-ridden corners of the grain terminal. Luckily, this time you're with someone who could probably do this blindfolded, so you just follow his lead. As you're both climbing the rickety stairs leading to the mezzanine, you suddenly notice light coming from D'Angelo's office. A quick look assures you that no, he did not in fact leave it on. You bust through the door like an undead Tango and Hooch, or was that Turner and Cash, ready to unleash holy fury on the intruders. You half expect an Anarch death squad or an SI hunting party. Instead, you get Larson, who nearly falls out of the chair when you two bust in.
Oh no.
Number one. I don't need to give Larson shit. His life already sucks.
Yep.
Larson, what the hell are you doing here?
What does it look like I'm doing? I'm waiting for you two bozos to show up.
I'm zipping up my tracksuit even tighter.
Seemingly both intrigued and irritated by the surprise visit, D'Angelo walks over to a cabinet and pulls out a fresh cigar.
And now that the clowns have arrived, does His Highness mind telling us what brings him to our merry circus tent?
Wait, hang on. I just realized when we came to visit when we came uninvited, came into D'Angelo's office, he fucking put a shotgun in our back and threatened to murder us. He's just like, hey, Larson, how's it going?
Yeah, Larson's a primogen. He's higher on the pecking order, though not significantly so.
Her.
He points at the tiny shadow cowering in the corner of the room. To your astonishment, it turns out to be a very familiar face.
The blood. No. Not again, please.
Number one? Where the hell did you find her?
Outside of my front door. She must have heard of me, found out where I lived. It's not uncommon knowledge among the Duskborn, or anyone else, it seems. She probably figured I could help, but honestly, I have no idea what to do with her. I mean, I should just turn her into the prince, but that's just another strike against my people. Then again, I can't just set her loose, not after what she did.
Yeah, only an irresponsible jackass would just, like, release her with no supervision.
Fuck, D'Angelo, you can tell that I'm desperate if my first instinct was to come to you. No, Larson, I would attribute that decision to what's left of your common sense.
He leans over to you.
Hey, kid. I think we should call it a night. Just give me some time to talk to the girl. Maybe I'll get through to her somehow.
The sign. That's the sign. It's always there.
Though I ain't holding my breath.
Honestly, you're glad to leave him to it. Spending the night in a small room with a tiny serial killer somehow doesn't seem too appealing. Still, you're hoping D'Angelo will be alright. He's got some tough choices ahead of him.
Dang. That was a good one. That was fun.
Yeah, that was a good one. Where to now? Tamika?
We'll do Tamika 3. To Thrika.
A tapping on the window, a small grayish bird flying off, a small piece of paper left on the windowsill. Prospect, ASAP, Tam. As you open the blinds, you're able to spot a small grayish bird flying off into the night. Looking down, you notice a small piece of paper on the windowsill. Prospect, ASAP, Tam.
What?
Third time's the charm, you think to yourself, as you once again cross the gate of Prospect Park and head for Tamika's Haven. To your surprise, you find her out in the open, sitting on the lawn, surrounded by a host of woodland creatures, birds and squirrels mostly.
Singing like a Disney princess.
The critters each patiently await their turn as she flicks seeds at them. Looks almost whimsical in a twisted sort of way.
We won't like treat her like she is fucking 10 years old, so we won't say number 3. We'll just, we'll number 2. Hey, you wanted to see me?
Yeah, I did.
She scatters the remaining seeds into the grass and hops to her feet.
I've been doing some digging. The Inquisition has a safe house set up in Manhattan. I think that's where they're keeping him. The scarred one, I mean.
Incidentally, do Gangrel have, like, animal empathy?
Yes. Normally animals hate vampires on sight, but Gangrel and Nosferatu have a discipline that will kind of help them with that.
I want to pay them a visit. Kill that thing and as many of those SI bastards as I can along the way.
Yeah, no, just gonna go straight to number 1. So let me get this straight. You want to attack a stronghold full of well-armed goons who have trained for years to kill vampires, and then face off against some super feral who's managed to kick our asses once already. Did I get that right?
You forgot to mention breaking the Masquerade while we're at it. Look, I know how it sounds. If you don't want to do it, I won't hold it against you.
Scene ends.
Either way, I'm going.
Does Raoul, does your daddy know about this? Well, it's a visual novel, so I guess we'll say number 1 and acknowledge our fate. Just so that we're clear, I think it's a terrible idea, but I can't just sit around while you're getting yourself killed. So, yeah, I'm going with you.
So am I.
Hell yeah.
He emerges from the shadows, mere few feet away from you. Son of a gun finally managed to sneak up on you.
I'm coming with you to hold her accountable.
Tamika eyeballs him as he gets closer. You've seen that look before. She's clearly asserting her position, but this time it comes off as a formality rather than an actual challenge.
How long have you been there, Raoul?
Long enough. Still not buying that whole scarred one bullcrap, but taking a bite out of the Inquisition's collective ass is just too good to pass up. I want in.
Oh, Raoul, you're 100% gonna die if you come on this.
Do you get that feeling? I get that feeling.
I very much get that feeling. Number 3. Call it the Scarred One, Santa, or the Tooth Fairy. Just know that it's very real and very dangerous.
Fine. Fine. Consider me fairly warned, and consider you fairly warned that you're going to be accountable for all this.
Also, you're icky.
Now, can we move this along? I'm itching to kill me some SI fucks.
Yeah, it seems like it's her call. Number 3. Tamika, you got an opinion?
Huh. Guess I know who the alpha is around here. Oh,
Yes, you factually do.
Oh,
It's our...
It's me. It's me, Raoul. Yeah.
Get owned.
He should come with us. He's got the right to be there. To see the Scarred One with his own eyes. Plus, my brother can be a pain in the ass, but he's one hell of a fighter.
There you go. Tam's seal of approval.
It's settled then. Let's go.
I love Raoul because he like totally feels like Goon in a Fast and the Furious movie. Like,
Oh.
It's just like, yeah, well, you think you're
Yeah,
so
you tell him,
bad,
boss,
Vin
yeah.
Diesel? You think you're so bad, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Fucking finally.
and with that, you leave the relative safety of Prospect Park, steeling yourself for things to come. As you get closer to your destination, you get the sneaking suspicion that Tamika's been pulling your leg. Following her lead, you might take a turn from Broadway onto Fort Tryon Park. Trion. I don't know. It doesn't seem to make sense, you think to yourself, but there's only one spot between here and the Hudson River. But it can't be. Can it? Sure enough, as the stone facade of the cloisters comes into view, Tamika motions at you to keep out of sight. How the hell is this well-known tourist trap a hideout for the Second Inquisition?
Number 2. Cloisters? Seriously? That's the Inquisition safe house?
Talk about hiding in plain sight, huh?
This place used to be a lot of things, and now it serves as a staging ground for the Inquisition. If my sources are to be trusted, and they usually are, they brought him here for what they call processing. Doubt they'll keep him here for long, though. If we want to get to him, it's now or never.
As if on cue, a group of armed guards walks out of the museum, pushing a gurney with a large steel container on top of it. As they wheel it out into the open, a truck approaches. The operatives start preparing to load the crate onto the vehicle. You scan the area, trying to take a head count. Tamika beats you to it.
I count at least 7. Probably more inside. We should do this quietly and take them out one by one.
Do it, Ventru. Raoul frowns.
I say we go in guns blazing. Figuratively speaking, if there's more inside, let them come. The more the merrier.
Shit.
You are stupid.
God.
Number 2. Why don't I talk to them? Yeah. Number 2.
His pony tail is too tight.
Tamika's right. We should get in quietly. Take them out one by one.
Tamika nods in silence.
Oh, fine then. Let's do this already before you two bore me to final death.
Oh my god.
You split up, aiming
Raoul,
to
I'm
cover...
trying so hard to keep you alive, buddy.
You split up, aiming to cover as much ground as possible. Sticking to the shadows, you advance, keeping track of one another's progress. You hardly even notice as Tamika takes out the first guard. Not a peep out of him. Trying to keep up, Raoul kills the one to your left. He's sloppy, takes his sweet-ass time bleeding the guy out. With his dying breath, the man lets out a yelp, drawing the attention of one of his comrades. With the guard fast approaching, you ponder your options.
Well, boy, I don't know. I haven't learned vampire kung fu yet. I mean... Slice his throat seems like it would be faster. So, I guess let's go with that?
As the guard walks by, you leap out of the shadows and use the sharpest weapon you have on you, your fangs, to slice his throat open. With his windpipe severed, he lets out a silent gurgle as he expires. Carefully, you lay his dead body on the dirt. Looking to the side, you notice Raoul looking back at you. He nods, looking almost semi-impressed. 3 down, 4 to go. You keep at a steady pace, moving across the courtyard, picking off the guards one by one. Tamika does her part. 3 to go. Raoul gets messy again. At least this time he's quiet. With only 2 of them left, you pick one for yourself and gesture at one of your fellow ferals to take care of the other. Tamika's quieter, but Raoul's closer. Who do you choose?
Oh, boy. God, this is like a choose-your-own-adventure book where I'm reading both the options, and I'm like, man, I can easily see how they screw me over for picking either of these options. But I'm going to go with my gut and say Tamika is more likely to have plot armor, so we're going to nominate her.
Okay. You wave your hand at Tam, pointing at her final target. She nods and starts making her way towards him. Suddenly, by virtue of sheer luck, he turns around just as she's about to pounce. His scream is quickly muffled, but still loud enough for the very last guard to hear. As all 3 of you approach him, the dire reality of the situation hits him like a ton of bricks. Paralyzed with fear, he keeps shifting his aim from you to Tamika to Raoul. He is severely fucked and he knows it. Since you're standing closest to him, you might as well do the honors.
Feed!
You walk over to the quivering mess that mere minutes ago thought himself the toughest of the tough. Before he can react, you slap the gun out of his hands, lean in, and smile.
Hi.
Half a second later, your fangs are already halfway to his windpipe. The blood tastes sour with a hint of cowardice and regret. Could have gone out.
Oh, but it still counted. The border went away. Haha.
Chose to go out with a gurgle. Oh well. With the SI operatives taken care of, you turn your attention to the container sitting in the middle of the courtyard. Using your combined strength, you make quick work of the steel door. As you walk in, the moonlight from behind you illuminates a twisted figure huddled on the floor. It's hard to believe that this thing lying before you, beaten and tortured within an inch of its own life, is the same creature you fought back at the cemetery.
What the fuck is that thing?
We'll just say number 3. The Boogeyman. That's what happens when you lose it. When you let the beast take over.
His lips move silently as if searching for the right words. He looks to you, then turns to his sister as if waiting for a sign. For a moment, Tamika just stands there. She looks down at the scarred one, the once fearful boogeyman whose very mention could strike terror into the hearts of her tribe, now reduced to a whimpering pile of flesh. Finally, she turns to you with a look of childish innocence mixed with confusion. Then she looks back at the scarred one. You can tell she's lost.
Tam, what the hell are you waiting for? Let's kill this thing and get out of here.
I think it is her choice, so we'll say number 3. This is your choice. Can't make it for you.
She turns to you with the look of pride mixed with desperation.
I'm not asking you to.
Do it, Tam. You know he deserves it. Hell, looks like you'll be doing him a favor.
Ha! We'll say number 2. Now you're playing the visual novel, Tamika. Do what you will. Just be ready to live with the consequences.
Suddenly, the very air around you seems to thicken. You look over to Tamika. She's not quivering anymore. She walks up to the scarred one. The pitiful creature presses itself into the corner in a desperate and futile attempt to crawl away. Without a word, she grabs the creature by the ears, sinking her claws into the side of its head. She looks him dead in the eye. Her voice is surprisingly warm, almost soothing.
You can rest now, brother.
In one fluid motion, she twists his neck off his shoulders. The snapping sound is both sickening and satisfying. The empty husk of the once fearful beast falls to the floor like a slab of meat.
Jesus, Tam, that was... What the hell was that?
Number 2. Hopefully some closure.
Standing outside the steel container, the three of you take a moment to gather your thoughts. You look at one another, at the blood staining your hands, clothes, and faces. In the pale moonlight, it appears black and shiny, like a fresh ink stain on a fresh sheet of paper. Don't use fresh twice. Without another word, you head back toward the city lights. The journey back takes longer than it did the other direction. With bits and pieces of the Second Inquisition still stuck to your clothes, you decide to play it safe by sticking to back alleys and cutting through darker corners of the city. Tamika stays several steps ahead. Both you and Raoul are almost content to follow her lead. You can tell that these last few nights have taken a toll on her, but not necessarily in a bad way. She seems stronger somehow, confident, more in tune with herself. Soon, the awkward silence proves unbearable enough that you're willing to risk making small talk with Raoul.
Number 2. Think she's gonna be alright?
Yeah, I think so. She's just gotta figure some stuff out. Our lineage, we have a special relationship with the beast. We can either let it control us, or become attuned to it. It's a constant struggle, marked with difficult choices. I think Tam just made one of them.
Pondering what you've just heard, the rest of the trip barely registers. To your surprise, you suddenly find yourself back at Prospect. Tamika keeps walking. She strides through the park gate like a queen of old, returning after a victorious conquest. You want to call out to her, but Raoul stops you with a gesture.
Not yet. Give her some time to process all this shit. She'll let you know when she's ready. And hey, you did alright. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're still an asshole. But yeah, thanks.
He smiles at you. Wonders never cease.
Alright, I've unlocked the Raoul route.
See you around.
The Raoul route.
With that, he follows in his sister's footsteps. A weird smile creeps onto your face as you meld into the New York night.
Bubaka.
Alrighty, where to now?
Boy. Let's finish
Wrap up
Agathon.
Agathon, yeah. You're in your haven when someone knocks on your front door. Puzzled, you open it. Agathon stands in the hallway expectantly, as if the 10 seconds it took for you to come to the door was an impossible imposition.
What are you doing? Fucking stuffing a turkey in here? Number 1 is a reasonable question, so I'm going to ask it. How did you know this was my apartment?
Agathon looks impatient, as if he's explaining the simplest thing in the world. No, there aren't real romance options in the game. It's too short for all that. Agathon looks impatient, as if he's explaining the simplest thing in the world.
I drove you home last time, remember? That got me the neighborhood. As for the specific apartment, well, you left a hair in my car. Using that, your exact location was a simple matter of application of sympathetic principles. Shouldn't be so strange. Everything we've done together has been about finding things through thaumaturgy.
You follow Agathon down to the street, wondering what kind of revelations tonight will hold.
Anyway, I'm about to go do this kid's birthday party.
Anyway, yeah, let's do this.
So far, Agathon's rituals haven't been successful at locating the research notes, but you've learned a lot about the Tremere and Agathon himself.
This time I've got it. The problem is, when an old vampire disappears, even from our clan, we're so secretive that it's hard for us to find out what they were up to.
Agathon's car is parked at the curb. You get in, and Agathon starts to drive.
You may have guessed that the notes we're looking for belong to an old member of our house. The problem is that we need them to continue her research.
I'm interested in... Out of these, I think I'm most interested in number 3. What does Juno want to do with these notes? Is she going into research?
Agathon looks at you uncertainly before returning his eyes to the road ahead.
I don't know, but I can guess.
You wait for him to continue, but he doesn't seem inclined to do so. You're getting used to sitting in Agathon's car in silence. He drives, you look out the window, back to Queens. Eventually you roll up to an industrial area called Willett's Point. It really doesn't look like a place where a blood sorcerer would hang out. Agathon parks in front of a car repair shop that looks like it's seen better days. There are huge puddles of water on the road and the car wrecks strewn about.
Better be quick. If I can find this place, so can Juno.
You look around to see if someone is observing you, but there doesn't seem to be any people about. Why would there be? Who would hang around a place like this at night? Agathon tries the front door of the repair shop, then circles around to the back. You follow him. There's a broken window in the back, protected by iron bars. Agathon grabs them and gives them a quick shake. The entire iron grill comes off. Startled, Agathon lowers it to the ground.
Whoa! Huh. I suppose someone else has already broken in and didn't want to leave an obvious point of entry.
You and Agathon climb inside through the window. It's awkward, but not difficult. Looking around, you realize that the repair shop has been abandoned for some time. Looks like homeless people have stayed here in the past, but nobody's currently squatting on the premise. You try a light switch, but nothing happens.
You know the drill. I'll do the ritual in the office. Make sure there are no interruptions.
Agathon makes his way to the repair shop's office, a slightly cleaner area than the rest of the building. He begins the ritual in the dark.
I think we'll look at the papers.
Bored, you start shifting through the papers left on the office's desk. Old shift records, invoices, ads, nothing from the last decade. There's a small TV on the desk, probably from the 90s. Looking closer, you realize there's a post-it note on the middle of the TV screen. You take it. It reads, "Loser, Juno."
Oh.
Agathon stops gesturing.
They're not here. How is that possible?
You show him the post-it note. He takes it and looks it over as if suspecting it might hide a devious trick.
Explosive runes!
Fuck. She has the notes. She had to gloat. We have to go.
Feels like you've spent a lot of time recently hurrying after Agathon as he walks briskly in and out of buildings into his car.
Agathon's whole arc is a reverse escort mission.
Yeah. He starts the car as you close the door.
We have to go to her haven and get the notes. There's no time to waste.
Despite the urgency of his words, Agathon drives as carefully as ever. It seems that only a threat to his grandmother is enough to make him drive recklessly.
And he probably knows where she lives. Number 2. What do we do with her? Is she an enemy?
Let's not be hasty. I'm sure we can talk this through.
Agathon doesn't sound too convinced.
Juno's haven is in Brooklyn, in a waterfront warehouse.
Agathon drives south to Brooklyn. This is one of the advantages of being undead. Moving at night, traffic is much lighter than if you wanted to zoom around the 5 boroughs during rush hour. Parking the car, Agathon points to a light coming from an otherwise dark yellow brick warehouse.
That's her. Let's go in.
I think we're gonna case the joint first.
Preferring to keep a low profile for now, you circle around the building and look for an alternative entry point. You find a rusty metal door with no window in it at the very end of the building. Some kind of emergency exit. You get it open with little difficulty, entering the building with Agathon.
Why is this the background now? Is this building in the void?
You emerge in a light-proofed room, sectioned off on one side by a cheap plywood wall. There's a flimsy-looking door that probably leads to a main warehouse area. You stop to listen. You hear 2 voices, but they're hard to make out. One is Juno, and the other sounds like it comes from underwater with some strange resonance. You do your best to make out what they're saying, but you understand only bits and pieces.
Is it possible for me to bring another?
Yes. We are too powerful.
Enough waiting.
Agathon tries to break down the door by ramming into it with his shoulder. It's flimsy and breaks with surprisingly little effort. He is glad. You and Agathon barge into the space and find yourself at the periphery of a candlelit ritual circle. Your eyes are drawn to the wash bin at Juno's feet. Maybe it's your imagination, but it feels almost like the water inside is emitting a wan red light of its own.
Juno, you have to stop. Hand me the notes.
Oh, Agathon, you're such an idiot. This is beyond you now. I'll give you one last chance. Come with me. Forget Aisling and her power games. Join me and you can become your own man.
What?
Agathon seems genuinely flabbergasted at the suggestion.
Number 3. Who's your contact, Juno? Who were you talking to?
Juno smiles at you.
That's a good question. I guess Aisling Suderbridge doesn't go around trumpeting the fact that the old hierarchy doesn't hold a monopoly on Tremere power anymore. There are other forces out there, and I'll join them.
Juno picks up a bulging old folder from a chair inside the ritual circle.
If this dumbass has any brains, he'll join me.
No. And not for the clan, but for my family. My real family.
Juno sighs. She doesn't look surprised at Agathon's refusal to come with her.
I would have felt badly if I hadn't offered you the chance.
Come back to the Chantry with me, Juno. Talk to Aisling. You'll see that that's not a good idea.
You glance at Agathon with concern. You're no sorcerer, but the idea of fighting Juno in the middle of a ritual circle doesn't seem like a good idea.
2 words. Fuck you.
Well, I mean, we are Ventrue are supposed to be like the presenciest race, right?
Yeah, them and Toreador.
Okay. Well, let's try to force persuade her. Please, just give us the notes. We won't stop you from leaving.
Juno's shoulders slump.
I'm tired of the fight. I'm tired of having to bust my ass for some asshole like Aisling. I want a new life, away from all this crap.
Welcome to Clan Tremere. Juno weighs the folder in her hand.
Maybe I should just give this to you.
She walks towards you and you put your hand on the folder, but by then Juno's eyes brighten with realization.
You fucker! You're manipulating me!
She slaps your
peanut.
face and you feel as if your insides have suddenly caught fire. You open your mouth but no sound comes out. Finally, you focus on the feeling of Agathon's hand on your shoulder and you realize you lie sprawled on the floor.
Are you alright? Can you speak?
The pain is receding, but you feel like shit, hurting all over and barely able to walk. It'll take a lot of blood to mend from this state. Agathon supports you as you walk back. He's smiling. You notice the folder under his arm.
She got away, but I have the notes. I'm sorry you got hurt, but it was worth it.
Worth it? You tell him a thing or two about your view of the situation, but your tongue is momentarily a lump of charcoal in your mouth. You sit in silence as Agathon drives you back to Manhattan. Traffic in the small hours is mercifully slight. You consider your next words.
Your tongue feels like calling about. Is number one. What will happen to Juno now? Is your clan really going to let her go?
Maybe. I don't really know. We have the notes, and that's what counts.
Agathon sounds almost as if he wanted Juno to escape. Perhaps it was really about the research for him. You reach the occult bookstore. After Agathon parks the car, you head inside. You climb to the second floor to find Aisling Sturbridge waiting for you. She looks surprisingly casual for someone with such power. You have good news, I hope?
Yes, we have the notes.
Agathon hands over the folder. Aisling Sturbridge caresses the cover with obvious joy. Wonderful. You did not disappoint. What of Juno?
We were not able to stop her. She escaped.
Well, no matter. Agathon, you proved yourself yet again. And Theodora, looks like the pyramid has a good friend in you.
What is the pyramid?
The clan structure of the Tremere.
Well, saying number two seems crass, and I don't actually dislike Juno, so we'll just accept the compliment.
Okay. You nod, not saying anything. Agathon looks relieved. You leave the bookstore with praise ringing in your ears. Even the taciturn Agathon manages a smile. You have no idea what will happen with the notes, but you feel that you've reached an understanding with Agathon. Perhaps that's enough in this world of backstabbing and betrayal that you now inhabit. Yay! You finished Agathon's story.
Okay, so whichever of the other two we do next is the one that, like, counts.
Yep. Everything after that will be extra toppings.
Okay. Do we want Tamika or D'Angelo? Okay, so I'll just ask you this, Austin, because it'll color how much I like D'Angelo. All right. I mean, I guess we already got the I don't know. I'm like my only beef with him is that I think it was very silly. Like, I don't need to harp on it anymore. The thing that he chose to do,
letting her go.
Yeah, letting her go that middle time. But I do like him as a character. Yeah, all right, we'll do D'Angelo.
All right.
And then we'll finish Tamika afterward.
It's been some time since your last visit at Red Hook. You should probably get back to D'Angelo and see if he's managed to figure out how to handle Sana. You make your way up the stairs. You notice that D'Angelo's office is surprisingly quiet. You're half expecting something akin to the scene from The Exorcist, with Sana belching out curses and your companion sprinkling her with, well, whatever it is vampires use for holy water.
Sunny D!
Wow.
What you witness instead as you open the door is the picture of Serenity. The girl, although still curled up in the corner, is sitting calmly with her eyes fixed on the pages of some pulpy detective novel. She doesn't even register your presence. Sitting behind his desk, D'Angelo seems to be looking over some files, puffing on his usual brand of cigar. Seeing no trace of Larson, you assume he must have gone back to his family. Like a punk. Noticing your presence, the vampire detective leans back in his chair and gives you a tired look.
Hey there, kid. Glad you could make it.
Number 2. Any luck with Sana? You managed to make her any more sana?
No. Same old. Same old. Mumble, mumble. Ominous non sequitur. But I do know one thing. She might not be all there.
You think?
He pats himself on the forehead in an utterly unnecessary attempt to illustrate the point.
But she's not all gone either. I think there's still hope for this girl. Anyway, been going over the case files, mulling over our options. Surprise, surprise, they all suck donkey dick. No matter how we go about this, someone gets fucked over. Her, Larson, us.
Number 1. Okay, then, lay it on me. What options do we have?
Okay, let's polish this turd. Here's how I see it. 1. We grab Sana, take her to Elysium, and make a case for her to Prince Panhard. 2. We get Valerie to back off by feeding her the dirt I got on Larson. 3. We try to get Sana out of the city. Come on, kid, I can hear them thoughts bouncing around your head from over here. Out with it.
Number 1. Let's confirm what is already extremely likely. You want to bring Sana to Elysium. Isn't that pretty much a death sentence?
Pretty much, but not quite. If we can get an audience with Panhard, we might be able to convince her to spare Sana's life. The prince isn't as much of a hard ass as some would like her to be. She'd probably rather avoid further alienating the Duskborn community. That said, if we run into Kadir, we're as good as fucked.
No, it's alright. He and I are tight. I guess number 2. Let's just go through them in order. I'm sorry. Number 2 from the original list.
Right.
Number 1 now. Yep. What kind of dirt do you have on Larson anyway? Must be some serious shit.
Oh, it is. A few
Oh,
years
no.
back, the Second Inquisition led a coordinated assault on New York's Kindred. Operation Lights Out, they called it. Nasty fucking business, that was. A lot of good vampires died. Some of them I knew personally. A lot of good vampires died.
I love that line.
Larson was one of the Inquisition's first targets, but when they got to him, he managed to convince them to spare his life. In exchange, he fed them info on a fellow Camarilla member, one Nicky the Chop. Suffice it to say, Nicky didn't make it through the night. Okay, time's wasting. What do you think we should do?
I want to hear about Nicky the Chop.
Yeah, me too.
He might be in the New York by Night book.
Number 1. Wait, you're letting me make the call?
Why?
Look, kid, I've been at it all day, mulling it over, and all I got for my trouble was a splitting headache. I just don't know anymore. All I'm asking is for your honest opinion. Just pick one, make a case. Convince me it's the right thing to do. Or at least wrong. At least.
Fuck
Or the least wrong, at least. So, one more time. Bring the girl to Elysium, trade her life for Larson's, or sneak out of town. Which one would you go with?
Alright, well, I don't know anything about Nicky the Chop, but given that his nickname is the Chop, I'm guessing he was like a murder man, and that's why Larson was okay ratting him out.
A lot of good vampires died.
A lot of good vampires, like Nicky the Chop and Billy the Eye Eater.
Old child murder Sammy.
So I like Larson, and his life, everyone shits on him nonstop, so I really don't want to rat out Larson. I can't really conscience smuggling her out of the city to presumably continue murdering.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because I've already was complaining about doing it once. So I think we're going to Elysium, unfortunately.
Yeah, good fucking choice. I don't understand why he's so, forgiving, I guess, of her. She's clearly, not all there.
It's clearly not her fault, but that doesn't change the fact that she is an
Just
active...
going around killing people.
She's killing people over and over.
Mhm.
Bringing her to Elysium seems like the most reasonable thing to do.
cruelest, or at the very least the most risky. If we can't convince Panhard to give Sana a shot, the girl's good as dead.
Good!
I wonder if maybe you're right is like back to the previous menu, or if he's just like
maybe it could be, or he's
like,
nah, let's just fucking do it.
Number one. Then we better be extra convincing.
Yeah, so be it. Fuck. Do me a favor, kid. Watch her for a few minutes, okay? I gotta make some arrangements. Make a few calls.
He catches himself, looks at you with an expression of the phoniest of phony guilt.
But not like with a phone or anything. Because, that would make me a naughty boy, which I am clearly not.
He walks out of the office. Through the frosted windows, you see him instantly go for his clamshell phone. Screw it, does it really make a difference at this point?
It's okay, this phone only lets me contact clams.
Yep.
You turn to the girl, who still has her nose in the book.
Number 2? So, is that book any good? I don't usually go for this sort of stuff. It just leaves me cold.
She looks up from the book and her eyes glaze over.
Cold.
A shiver runs down your spine. You decide it's best to leave her to her reading and spend the next few minutes in complete silence.
Damn.
Finally, D'Angelo staggers back into the room.
Alright, I called a friend of mine who works at the art hole. She says the prince is there right now in her private quarters. We'll just have to figure out a way to get an audience.
He walks over to Santa and crouches behind her. Speaking softly, he takes the book out of her hands and gently strokes her head.
Hey, darling, I need you to listen very carefully. We're gonna go on a little trip, okay? You need to stay quiet and stay close to me. Can you do that? Stay close to D'Angelo?
She squints, trying her best to concentrate.
Tea and Jello.
Close enough.
Something akin to a smile creeps onto her face. It's as close to happy as you've seen her.
Gift, not hurt.
D'Angelo returns her smile.
You're welcome.
He turns to you, putting his serious face back on. He nods. Looks like it's go time. The art hole welcomes you with all its usual weirdness and grotesqueries masquerading as contemporary art. Right now, however, art is the last thing on your mind. As the three of you make your way through the crowd of usual suspects, D'Angelo gestures toward a lone figure standing in the corner. To your surprise, it turns out to be Sophie. As you approach, she raises an eyebrow, taking an especially long look at Santa.
Ah, and here I thought nothing in this world could surprise me anymore. Mind telling me what it is you're doing here?
D'Angelo nods courteously.
We're here to see Prince Panhard. I don't suppose you could help us get an audience?
I think you're confusing me with the Prince's Herald, an honest mistake in this lighting. Still, I'm afraid you're out of luck. From what I've heard, the Prince is not accepting visitors.
Sorry, who is her herald? Do we know?
The Herald is Arturo.
Oh, okay.
Fuck that.
I literally never remember that guy's name. He's just Fancy Man to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, number 1. I'm sure she's jaded, but we'll give it a shot. Please, it's a matter of utmost importance. I'm sure she'd make an exception for someone of your status.
Appealing to my vanity. Although appreciated, won't work this time. Like I said, the Prince doesn't wish to be disturbed.
Suddenly you hear a voice from behind you. It's the last voice you could possibly want to hear right now.
Hello, Kadir. Ah!
Maybe I can help.
Shing!
You look over to D'Angelo. He seems frozen in place, not able to move a single muscle. This is bad. Very bad. Keeping things casual, Kadir tips an imaginary hat in your general direction. When he looks at Santa, you notice his expression sour, if ever so slightly.
Perhaps this is a conversation best held in private. Follow me.
Before leaving, he nods at Sophie.
Langley.
Kadir.
Again, you glance over to D'Angelo, but he doesn't even acknowledge you. He seems to be in a state of deeply internalized panic. Not seeing any way out of the situation, you follow Kadir into a small backstage area. There, he stops and addresses you once more.
It's good to see you, D'Angelo. It's been a while since you last showed your face around here.
Your face or face-adjacent item.
Yeah, that thing. And I see you've brought friends. So how about we skip the unnecessary drama, and you two leave without incident while I take care of our thin-blood guest?
I feel like it's not her fault, it's she's insane is kind of a weak argument, given that, like, yeah, but also murder. So we'll try number 1. You don't have to do this. She can still be helped.
Maybe, maybe not. But that ship sailed a long time ago. It ends tonight, with me. It doesn't have to be this way. Just let us talk to Panhard. That's Prince Panhard to you, D'Angelo, and no, your harebrained scheme isn't gonna work. What exactly did you think was going to happen? You bring the Duskborn with a blood hunt on her head to my doorstep, and what? Hope that the prince stays my cruel hand? Honestly, I thought you were smarter than that. But I promise to make it quick, painless. That's as much as you'll get, so don't push it. And with that, he turns to Sana. His expression grows softer, almost kind. Then he grabs her by the hand gently. There is not an inkling of violence in his demeanor. Come, my child. You've been very brave. The pain is almost over.
Pain? Over?
With blissful ignorance, she looks at you and D'Angelo as the sheriff walks her out of the room. Your companion looks broken, as if something inside him just snapped. Without even looking at you, he utters under his breath, I killed her.
Oh.
Well, I'm not gonna blame Kadir, because in no universe is this his fault. Yeah, whatever. I'll give him a shot of the old camaraderie. We'll go with number 1. Give it a rest. If anything, it's we.
Kid, I know you're trying to make me feel better, but it's not really working. I really thought I could save her.
Not really knowing what to say, you lift your hand to pat him on the back. You stop yourself mid-motion. Somehow it doesn't seem like the right thing to do. You leave the art gallery and head back to Red Hook. On your way, you keep thinking about Sana and whether now is the exact moment Kadir brings her final death. It's not a pleasant journey. Slowly, clumsily, you make your way back to the grain terminal. No words are spoken, no bad jokes made, no monologues muttered, and no smiles exchanged. There's only silence and vacant stares. As you head up the stairs to D'Angelo's office, you can feel the tension rising. You can tell the moldy sleuth has reached a breaking point. As he walks into his office and leans against his cluttered desk, you figure now is as good a time as any to break the silence.
I feel like he'd respond best to number 3. Look, I know tonight's been rough, but you can't let it get to you.
The moment you finish your sentence, D'Angelo leans over and sweeps all of his stuff off the desk. Notepads, bits of paper, and what looks like cheap imitation of an antique lamp. It all comes crashing to the floor. It doesn't stop there, as he grabs a heavy filing cabinet and knocks it over. Slowly but surely, the once quiet office turns into a heap of crumpled paper and broken furniture. The tantrum lasts for mere seconds, but as you stand there watching, it feels like forever. Finally, D'Angelo stops and looks up at the ceiling. It's hard to tell if he's had enough, or simply run out of stuff to throw around. As he stands there, slowly regaining composure, one of the objects scattered on the floor catches your eye. It's a small paperback novel, the same one you saw Santa reading earlier tonight. Must have landed where D'Angelo was giving the room a royal thrashing. You pick it up. In huge letters, the title on the cover spells The Longest Night and Other Stories. A smaller caption underneath reads, Another collection of stories from the Gianni D'Angelo saga. What in the actual fuck? You flip it over and are immediately drawn to the picture on the back cover. If not for a lack of flaky skin and distorted features, you'd say this guy looks very familiar. The name next to the picture, Reginald Finch. You stand there, not even knowing where to start. Even in his current state, D'Angelo, or whatever his name is, remains one step ahead of you.
Yeah, that's me in the picture. Reggie fucking Filch. Haven't seen him in a while. Wasn't planning to.
Number 1. You named yourself after one of your characters?
Yeah, afraid it's more than that. I sort of became him. See, Reggie Finch was a pushover, small-time journalist and a wannabe writer. He'd never survive out there, among the coteries of New York, looks at the camera. Gianni D'Angelo, on the other hand. Honestly, just sort of happened. Guess it was the only way I could make sense of it all. I mean, once you wake up looking like this, realizing your life and all that you were is gone forever, can't really blame me for at least trying to make it interesting.
Aww.
Yeah, number 1. He can do what he wants.
Listen, we're gonna be alive forever. Like, do
You
what
might
you
as
want.
well
I
enjoy
guess-
the you that you
I
are.
guess, to some extent, we all put on an act in front of others. We make up characters, idealized versions of ourselves. It gives us something to live up to.
She looks at the camera.
Hey, person in the background clapping for no reason. Could you shut the fuck up? Okay. don't get me wrong. It's still
Are those your neighbors?
not my direct neighbors. They're just people in apartments in my complex whose windows also face into the courtyard. You might have noticed the occasional "oh" in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still weird, but it's not that weird. D'Angelo.
For a moment, he seems to be mulling over what you just told him. Finally, he picks the ashtray up off the floor. Rummaging through the ashes, he finds a mangled, half-finished cigar. He sticks it in his mouth and lights it up, the lighter's flame reflecting in his shades. He smiles at you, ever so slightly.
Thanks, kid. Tell you what, how about you take the rest of the night off? I need some time to get my shit in order.
It's not like you pay me.
Starting with this office. Some dumb assholes made one hell of a mess of it.
You smile and nod. He nods back.
I'll be seeing you.
And so, you leave him to his thoughts. No way to be sure, but you have a feeling he's gonna be alright.
I'm kind of interested to ponder what the other choices would have let. Like, were we able to actually rat out Larson or try to flee the city?
I believe
or...
so. I believe you were. I think she's fucked no matter what. But well, I don't know.
That's
throwing in
like
Larson,
that's what I'd figure, because that last scene feels like a scene that was guaranteed to happen. But also, like, I'm assuming if we try to flee the city, we get caught by Valerie, and if I don't know what the fuck happens if you turn in Larson.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the only one I've ever done before is the one that we did, because it was the most sensible to me.
Yeah. Like, by far.
Yeah. I might have seen the Valerie one, actually. Sophie requests your presence tonight, and it seems urgent. You find her already waiting for you and clearly pondering something. Takes a few minutes of awkward silence before she speaks.
I require your assistance, Theodora. There's a matter of great importance I need to ask you to resolve for me. You will find what I'm about to say surprising, I'm sure, but I need you to hear me out. I need you to contact an important anarch figure in NYC and arrange a meeting for us.
Oh, Blue Odyssey says, I did flee the city on one of my playthroughs, and yeah, Valerie catches you, and Kadir gets mad at D'Angelo and you.
Damn.
Correctly so!
Yeah.
Number... Just ask, number... 2? That meeting, it's a trap, right? You need me to set it up so that you can deal a blow to them?
No, not immediately, anyway. I intend to meet with them in good faith. I realize how ridiculous that may sound to you. You'll find that with this, as with many other things, the Camaria's policies have more than their share of hypocrisy inherent in them. It comes hand in hand with using medieval power structures. What we are forbidden to do, the prince may do willingly. Some of these things can be done in the open, while others are kept secret as to not invite discord and discontent. I need to contact a man named Torque. He's an influential member of the movement and, like most of them, very suspicious of the Camarilla. That's why I'm sending you to extend my invitation.
Number 1. How do I know he'll even talk to me?
He won't. Not yet, anyway. You need to start further down the chain, with the right story to spin. From my limited sources adjacent to the movement, I've gathered that your best chance to speak to Torque is to first meet with his right-hand woman, Mia. She's a regular at a club called the Leech Pit.
Ugh, right next door to the art hole, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think it would be best if you presented yourself as an anarch hopeful, a fledgling looking for a place of belonging. Only after you talk to Torque directly should you mention my name and the meeting.
I do question this plan a little. Let's try number 3. I don't think that's the right approach. Lying to them won't make them trust me. When they find out the truth, they won't be happy or eager to work with us.
That might be true, but if you tell Mia outright that I sent you, she's likely to cut you off. She hates our sect, and it'll be difficult to make her listen to reason. After tonight, I suggest that we do not speak of this again until you arrange the meeting. There are many who would jump at the chance to use this against us. With Kaiser, you have proven you can get the job done, even if it requires additional legwork. I trust you to deal with this task as quickly and covertly as possible. Forgive me, but that's all the time I can spare tonight. What I'm asking of you is just a part of a bigger whole. Trust me, it'll all be worth it.
Number 1. Okay, I'll do my best.
I know you will. Check with Gregory for the address of the Leech Pit. Have Mia introduce you to Torque. When she does, tell him I wish to meet. Let him pick the time and place, but let it be soon. If he proves too guarded, tell him I have something that'll help him gather allies against Boss Callahan. That should pique his interest. Good luck. Obviously, not a word of this to anyone else, not even any new friends you might have made in recent nights. This stays between us.
The way she says that final sentence suggests a not-so-veiled threat, but her warm smile belies that impression. You want her to keep trusting you. You wouldn't want to disappoint her. Gregory gives you the address. The club is in Brooklyn. Apparently it's some kind of heavy metal bar with a dedicated concert space. Time to pay this Mia a visit. I don't actually think we're going to finish tonight.
Really?
Oh boy.
Yeah, no. The place is teeming with people tonight. You arrive in the middle of a concert. The music is loud, almost deafening, and it takes you a while to get used to it. This is not your scene at all. You can barely focus through the noise, but you grit your teeth and decide to bear it. The sooner you find Mia, the sooner you'll get out of this hole. A group of a few dozen patrons are tightly packed together, and the smell of their sweat and youthful, excited blood overwhelms you momentarily. It is with some difficulty that you turn to the task at hand. You've heard your share about the Anarchs and how they fit into kindred politics, but you only have your short encounter in Corona Park on which to base your actual opinion of the faction. That might have just been a horrible first impression, but you're keeping your guard up just in case.
I guess let's mingle with the crowd.
You take a walk around the club. There are a few side rooms and a spacious bar area. You listen in on conversations taking place with voices hoarse from shouting, walk in on a particularly sloppy threesome in the bathroom, and eventually hit the dance floor for a better feel of the place. As the concert comes to an end, you witness one of the guests, a feisty-looking girl, get into a scuffle with a much larger drunk guy. She doesn't seem to appreciate him reaching around her waist, slapping him with an audible crack that sends him to the ground unconscious. Two bouncers break up the crowd and pick up the drunk to carry him outside. Without so much as questioning the woman, you get an inkling that she might be who you were hoping to find. You approach her as she's about to leave.
You could take this one, Austin.
Yeah, the fuck do you want? More hair crimes.
Oh, yeah. They're so
The
big.
80s are alive and well in vampire New York.
Yeah. She's still seething, baring her teeth for a moment, but you've learned what to look for in kindred. You're pretty sure she's one of you.
Number 1. Heard this is the spot to meet hot chicks who hate the patriarchy. Anarchs, you could say.
Ugh,
She's like
seriously?
straight at, yeah, God,
That's
Theodora,
the best line
straight
you
out
came
of
up with?
straight
Ugh.
out of the fucking. How do you do, my fellow
Hello,
kids?
Yeah.
I guess she is a corporate stooge.
She doesn't smile, but she doesn't hit you either. Follow me behind the bar. She leads you through the bar to a back door that leads into a side room. Indie metal band posters are plastered on every wall, some of them 20 or more years old, judging from the tour dates. An old sticky table and some rickety chairs are the only pieces of furniture here. Sit down.
Number 1. Sure.
You take a seat as the woman leans against one of the walls. Name's Mia. I'm guessing your visit here isn't a happy coincidence. I don't know you, so you're either in New York, you're either new in New York, or you've kept an outstandingly low profile. Both sound suspect, so before we take these pleasantries further, answer me this: who do you run with?
Well, we're not gonna just immediately abandon the plan. I guess let's say number 3, although I think she's gonna call bullshit. I'm independent. I don't bow to anyone.
Isn't that adorable? Listen, fledgling, you don't get to be this fresh in the game and not pick a side. Those Second Inquisition fucks are all too happy to pick on delusional kids like you. So are the cams. They offer you rewards aplenty for your servitude, but they never actually deliver. Fortunately for you, there's another option. But before I get to that, let's get one thing out of the way. She leans in. If this is some clever ploy to oust me from my domain, or if you're just here to spy on me and the movement, I'll make sure that you don't enjoy undeath much longer. Got it? You can tell it's a purely rhetorical question. Right. Here's the pitch. The Camarilla like to think that they're the vanilla option. They like to think that they're the vanilla option. What with Prince Bitch Panhard pretending that they were always in charge. But New York has never been a fully cammy city. They might have won the city back in '99, but cams have had their asses handed to them many times over the years, and the movement has been here at least as long as they have. Hell, I moved to NYC before World War II, and that was a good while after I saw the Camarilla for what they were, a way to keep us all subservient and in line. The Ivory Tower will tell you that they're the only safeguard for the traditions, and that's kind of the problem. There's only one tradition we in the movement feel should be respected: the Masquerade, obviously. Everything else, Ask the prince and she'll tell you it's just the logical continuation of the Masquerade. Really, it's just a way to keep the elders powerful and in control. She grimaces. Here's the thing. For all the talk of us bloodsuckers being solitary creatures, we need a community to keep up the Masquerade. Community, yes, but authority? Not so much. We need a council of peers to keep the assholes and power-drunk fledglings in check, but not a feudal prince to tell you where to feed or who to hunt down when they step on your toes. She takes a brief break from her indignant rant. Structure is good. It brings order, says the same person who called Agathon icky.
Anarchy is icky. You are mean. Let's go with number 2. That sounds too good to be true.
Mia bares her teeth in a predatory smile. You better believe it. Sure, we still have to struggle with the urges of our kind, but it's safer. And more fair. We're as free as our condition permits, but unlike Autarchus, we don't stand alone. Nominally, a guy by the name of Callahan has been overseeing the movement's agenda in NYC for the past few decades. Must follow his lead.
Number 2. You make it sound like it's most, but not you?
Yeah, not me. If you're concerned about being well received in this city, you might need to go through Callahan. But if you're serious about the Anarch cause itself, he's not your guy. Callahan eats up fledglings like you and shits out self-preservation. His position as Baron is mighty shaky now, not least due to the fact that he's backstabbed more than his share of allies. So he's doing what any other old fart in a position of power would do. He's doubling down. Negotiations are out, intimidation's in. Tightening ranks as a precaution against the Second Inquisition. She surprises you by hacking and spitting on the ground in disgust. Yeah, I spent blood to do that. If you spent some time with Cams, that should sound very familiar to you. He's no better than Panhard and her cronies are at this point. No, you need to contact Torque. And wouldn't you know it, it's your lucky night, because I'm the lick to do it through.
Number 2. How is he different from Callahan?
Motherfucker, you're really asking for it. Her anger flares up again. I'll pretend that was just a naive question and not a half-assed jab. Torque is a leader, a local baron who's overseeing a small domain, but he's doing a good job of it. Callahan knows this, so he's giving him shit. Torque's taking it like a champ. He's smart like that. For one of us rebels, he's got the patience of a saint. Makes you think back to how things used to be way back when, if the stories are to be believed. Anyway, you want to meet him? It's going to require a show of goodwill first.
Number 1. That's fair. What do you have in mind?
She flashes you a mischievous half-smile. Appreciate your readiness, but I don't have the details just now. Ask for me at the bar when you're able. I'll leave something for you, and we'll take it from there. Come on, I gotta go. She walks you out of the bar, and you go your separate ways. Seems like there's nothing more to do than return here later and see if Mia can really help you contact Torque.
Well, alright. Let's finish Tamika then.
Alrighty. Immediately after you enter the park, you can tell that something's wrong. An odd silence hangs in the air, like the silence from a choking victim after the fight leaves them. It doesn't take you long to find Tamika. You see her in the distance, leaning against a tree. As you make your way towards her, she puts her finger to her lips. Only then do you notice the blood dripping from her side. You pick her up, letting her lean on you. She looks at you, her eyes wild with fear and rage.
They're here. The Inquisition. They found out.
Ugh, good. I bet fucking Raoul died off screen. God!
Oh no! We were right. We were right. Or maybe we're gonna have to go save him. Raoul, he drew them away. Saved my ass. He's still out there. We need to go. We need to help him.
Number 2. You're bleeding out. You're in no shape to mount a rescue.
Screw you.
A jolt of pain almost makes her bend in half.
I'm going.
You're at number one. You're barely standing. I won't let you get yourself killed.
I'm going. You want to stop me? Might as well kill me now.
Through sheer force of will, she manages to straighten herself up.
Dialogue option, kill her now.
Yeah.
Fucking do this.
You head deeper into the park. Soon you stumble upon a set of innocuous barriers. Service vehicles, black and yellow caution tape, men in work suits that keep the civilians out of a certain area. It's not at all difficult for a creature of the night to avoid these. You'd almost think that their presence here is accidental, but once you spot black vans deeper in, you get a foreboding feeling. Tamika grabs your shoulder and squeezes hard.
Hold up. There.
You have to squint to see it. 2 SI scouts have taken tactical position between the trees. There's no way in hell you'd have noticed them at hidden time if Tamika hadn't alerted you. Body armor, camo, night vision goggles, rifles, and semi-auto shotguns. Some equipment you can't even name. These guys mean business.
There's no time.
She's getting ready to pounce on them. Consequences be damned. You need to think, and fast.
Man. Well, I'm gonna double down on the hopeful notion that they're not gonna have a mid-story decision just insta-kill me, so I'll draw their attention away.
Okay. Yelling at the top of your lungs, you rush at the men, forcing both of them to focus their fire on you. The first one falls before he's able to pull the trigger. The second one takes aim. Suddenly you realize you might have bitten off more than you can chew. Reflexively, you squint, waiting for the bullets to tear through your flesh. To your surprise, no shots are fired. You open your eyes and you see Tamika standing over your would-be assailant. She flicks her wrist, sprinkling the grass under her feet with the man's blood.
Don't steal my kills.
Jeez, okay.
Just trying to keep my KD ratio high, bro. All things considered, she seems to be doing all right. You keep on moving. Tamika gestures at the nearest patch of trees.
Stick to the shadows. Take them one at a time.
Sound advice. You take it to heart as you move on towards Tamika's haven. It doesn't take long for you to run across more of them. 3 operatives in full riot gear are running down a park alley, sweeping the area with barrel-mounted flashlights. Keeping very still and very quiet, you wait for them to approach. Tamika watches from the bushes nearby, clearly waiting to follow your lead.
On ANG in chat. Maintain high craft dinner ratio. Geez, well, given how last time went, I guess, well, I feel like maybe I should do the second one. I don't know.
Well, she said, I feel like the second one is fair, because she was like, hey.
All right.
Hey, I'm super badass. Careful not to overplay your hand, you grab the first hunter as he's walking past and pull him into the bushes. Quietly, taking your time, you put pressure on his neck. A grisly snap lets you know the deed is done. Jumping right back into action, you see that Tamika has already taken care of one of the remaining 2. The other one, however, has already spotted her. It's not looking good. You run at him full speed just as he's about to open fire. You slam the gun out of his hand. A quick follow-up turns him into a blood sprinkler. Shit. You give
Jesus.
Tamika an impish smile. She actually looks impressed.
Keep it up.
No time to savor your victory. A savage yell rings out from across the tree line. You know that voice. Raoul. Tamika throws herself to where it came from. It's almost unbelievable how fast she moves, considering the state she's in. You're barely able to keep up. Mere seconds later, you find yourself under the cover of a rose bush, giving you a clear view of a nearby clearing. Off in the distance, you spot a group of gunmen converging. Slowly but surely, the circle of hunters closes in on a lone figure struggling on the ground. The figure lets out a pained roar. Looking closely, you realize it's Raoul, caught in the same steel net you saw used against the scarred one. He struggles frantically, trying to break free. With each passing second, step by step, the operatives close in around him. Driven by instinct, Tamika jerks forward to save her brother. She stops herself at the last moment, as if reminded of your presence.
Okay. How do we do this?
Boom! Oh, shit.
Ugh.
We gotta... I can't in good conscience let Raoul get murked if there was any way to prevent it. If he's gonna die like a red shirt, then it has to at least be unavoidable, so we're gonna go with number 1. Fuck him up. We go in fast and fierce, no messing around. Take him out as quickly as you can.
She nods in approval.
Sounds good.
You move in like a two-person SWAT team, staying low to the ground before you finally make your first move. The first 2 hunters meet their death. Unfortunately, it's enough for the others to notice your presence. So much for the element of surprise. As 2 men turn towards you with their fingers already on the trigger, another 2 approach you, stabbing at the air with their cattle prods.
I guess the... Boy, I don't know. Let's attack the gunmen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prioritizing long-range attackers, you make quick work of them, slashing both of their throats before they can fire. Meanwhile, Tamika does her share as she swiftly avoids the cattle prods and moves in for the kill. 4 bodies hit the ground, 2 vampires still standing. You both turn towards the last remaining foe. Driven by sheer desperation, the sole surviving soldier stands over Raoul and aims his semi-automatic shotgun at his head. Tamika growls. You gesture at her to stand down. There is no room for mistakes here.
Oh, I don't have a presence option? This is like the perfect time to use
This would
it.
be a perfect time for, like, a dominate.
Yeah.
He's probably got, like, super glasses on or something.
Fuck this guy.
I'm wearing noise-canceling headphones.
I'm wearing noise-canceling glasses.
Number... We don't... I mean,
That's
we
a
don't...
tough one.
Let's go with number 1. Listen to me. You let him go, we let you live. It's that simple.
With shaking hands, the gunman looks at you. Then Tamika, as if warning you not to come any closer. It's mostly for show. He's fucked and he knows it. You notice the man's grip loosen. Clinging to hope, he is seconds away from giving up. 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, Raoul springs up, grabbing the man's gun. As they struggle, you and Tamika lunge towards the gunman. A shot rings out. Raoul's body collapses under the weight of the steel net. His head, a gaping hole. The operative looks at you, startled and confused. His eyes widen, seeing Tamika fly towards him. Death incarnate. The man's screams echo across the park. She doesn't stop. Not when his intestines are spread in the grass, not when his eyes turn into bloody holes, not when his face turns into mush. Only when the screaming stops. Only when it is certain he has met his cruel end. Only then does she stop. You watch in silence as she walks over to what's left of her brother.
No.
Falling to her knees, Tamika lets out a yell unlike any you've ever heard. It's as if she's been possessed by some wailing spirit, a banshee screaming out into the sky. Her scream echoes across the clearing until finally it all goes quiet. With tears streaming down her face, she looks up at you.
It's my fault. I put us in their sight. It wasn't for me. He'd still be...
Clenching her fist, she pounds the ground in frustration.
Fuck!
Tamika, he was a red shirt. He was clearly 100% dead no matter what we did.
Didn't you hear everything he ever said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, number 1, we might have got him off if he hadn't fucked up at the last minute, so, you know,
Yeah.
this ball's in his court. It was his choice as well. It wasn't a child. He knew what could happen.
She bows her head, pressing her chin into her chest. It's like she's processing what she just said. coming to terms with it. Finally, she looks up and gets back on her feet. She seems to have shed her despair, at least for the time being.
Let's get out of here.
Hastily yet carefully, you make your way out of the park. You don't stop until you reach a nearby alleyway. There, in the relative safety of the surrounding darkness, you take a moment to rest. Leaning against the wall, Tamika presses her hand onto her wound. Fighting off the pain, she looks up at you.
Let's split up. Less attention. Hunters. Spotters on the rooftops.
I guess I'll trust her to take care of herself. Number 2. Okay. When will I hear from you?
Soon. I just need to catch my breath.
Knowing when it's time to fold, you nod and head toward the far end of the alley. After several steps, you look back to see how Tamika's doing. You smile, noting her absence. Having managed past a couple blocks without incident, you thank your lucky stars and blend into the nightly New York crowd. Hopefully Tamika's made it as well.
Damn. Ugh.
Well, would you... Oh,
We got time. We have time for about one more scene.
okay.
And then we can, and then we'll wrap up for the evening. You arrive at the Leech Pit, finding it less rowdy than the last time. The bar is still packed, but the dance floor is empty tonight. Instead, the old cracking speakers are playing music that would probably sound like noise even on high-end hardware.
So yeah, my background people are adding Foley for the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mia is nowhere to be seen, but you do remember she requested you ask for her at the bar. You approach the bar as the bartender finishes pouring a beer for an older guy in a faded, fraying Iron Maiden t-shirt. She turns to you.
Satan has $1 bill.
What the heck is that?
What was
That was from your end, Mo.
Oh my god, that was my phone. Fuck Pinterest.
Yeah, that's what she said.
The number 1. Oh, HK51 in chat. Where the heck do you live, Aram, where people are shouting out into a courtyard at 11 at night? Well, I live in Seattle, but it's only 7:47 here. I would prefer people never shouted out into the courtyard, but technically quiet hours don't start for a little while longer. Hey, is Mia around?
No, she's not in tonight. Or alternatively, noise from Mo's phone. She looks you up and down and a spark of recollection shines in her eye. Oh yeah, that's right. She takes a well-worn book from behind the counter, some kind of young adult vampire novel, and flips through it. She produces a piece of paper from between the book's pages and passes it to you. She told me you'd be interested in reading this. You find a relatively quiet corner and take a look at the note. Loser, signed Juno.
You are icky.
Yeah. T wants to meet you. I'll arrange it, but you need to prove you're trustworthy. Look around the Leech Pit for a guy named Bruce. Buff dude, tattoo, sleeve on his right arm. 90% sure he's somebody's retainer sent here to spy on us by the cam. Get me the name of his master and write it on this card, then return it to the bar. Doesn't take you long to locate this Bruce guy. Sits alone in a corner, 2 beer glasses already empty on his table. You take a moment to consider your approach.
I will eat you now. So is this guy, by retainer, are they implying they think this guy is human but working for a vampire?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just start with number 1.
Okay. The man immediately notices you but doesn't move from his spot. The other seats are empty. Hey, do I know you? You look familiar.
Hey, look, Austin, it's you.
Oh yeah, I think I saw you here before, right?
It's like Bruce is Austin minus several years. Kadir is Austin plus several years.
Yeah.
Is number 3. Yeah, I was at the concert the other night.
Oh yeah, that's right. And you were behind the bar with that chick. Not my type. You, on the other hand... He winks at you. If you still had these kinds of reactions, you're sure it'd make your skin crawl. Anyway, anything I can help you with, or are you just looking for somebody to chat with? 'Cause, I don't mind chatting, babe.
Ew, gross.
There it is.
You didn't hear the previous 90% of that.
Oh,
'cause
I
that
sure
was
didn't.
They're having so much fun. What the fuck are they doing?
Let's fucking go! uh,
It's like a frat house.
yeah, they must be like, I don't know. They're probably like playing Halo or some shit. I don't know. Number 2. I'm deathly afraid that if I say, "What's your poison?" Theodore is gonna find some weird ass Generation X phrasing for it, like last time. How about a drink?
Sure. Give me a Lemmy. You know, whiskey and Coke.
Lemmy Koopa?
Yeah. A short while later, you return with the drink. The guy's been eyeing you the whole time. He picks up the glass and takes a big gulp. Oh, yeah, that hits the spot!
Good, there was poison in it.
He takes a second drink to really loosen him up, and a third to make him somewhat more chatty. He doesn't really focus on himself, instead seeming very interested in you. Most of his questions are overtly sexual. He doesn't quite ask you for your favorite position, but the intent is there.
He's doing it again.
At
Go
no
on.
point does he let slip anything that would point him to being somebody's ghoul, though. In fact, you're beginning to suspect he's not nearly as drunk as he acts. Well, that was nice, but I gotta go. Thanks for the drinks. Wait a minute. You haven't had anything to drink all this time.
All right. Now is where we twist the knife. So we'll go for number 2. Yeah, I don't really do that stuff anymore, and I know for a fact your master doesn't either.
Any suggestion of his drunkenness is immediately gone. Sorry, my what? A hint of panic appears on his face.
Third option.
Yeah, that third option. Oh, just
It's
chill,
cool.
buddy.
I am just a hip new kid on the block, like the popular music group.
Yeah. Blink 182.
Yeah. Blink 182 times if you understand what I am putting down.
Brother.
Number 2. Come on, man. Who's your master? Simple question, simple answer, and I'm out of here.
He doesn't buy it. You thought you had him cornered, but he suddenly leaps over the table in one smooth move and dashes through the sparse crowd. You catch up to him outside. He's bolting all right.
All right, now we bring out the big guns. We'll go with number 3. Bruce, stop.
Simple command, obeyed to the letter. You approach him and drag him into a nearby alleyway. He snaps out of your previous command, but now there are only a few meters between the two of you.
Hell yeah.
We could go straight to beating the shit out of him, but we'll try number 2 first. Here's the deal. You tell me your master's name, and you save yourself a world of hurt. Unless you want to exit this alley on a stretcher, you'd better.
Whack. Bruce doesn't wait for you to finish talking. He jumps at you, kicking and punching with dizzying speed. It takes you by surprise, and he puts you on the defensive. Just as you're about to retaliate, he breaks away, jumps the fence at the end of the alley, and is gone into the parts of City Unknown.
Well, fuck.
Damn it.
I was too stingy with my superpowers.
Time to leave something for Mia. You borrow a pen from the bar and flip Mia's note to the other side. You have a whole bunch of nothing to go on, but that won't work. You figure it might be better to leave any name for Mia, even if you have to pull it out of your ass.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
That's hilarious.
Interesting.
Well, I don't think Kadir has people who work for him. I very much doubt...
You actually know for a fact that D'Angelo works for Kadir.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, actually. But D'Angelo's another vampire.
That's
I
correct,
don't
yes.
think Kadir has humans that work for him. Heh.
Hmm.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's put down Arturo.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
Arturo.
Fuck you,
sure.
fancy man.
Sure, why not? Everyone in the city has servants. Why not Sophie's eccentric acquaintance? You put the name down on the page. You pass the piece of paper to the bartender. She sticks it back in the same book. Hold on one sec. She wanted me to pass something on to you. She produces a cell phone from behind the counter. It's ancient, at least 15 years out of date.
You receive a call. Cool lie.
Yeah. Oh, right, and this. An old charger for the piece of junk in your hand. I really did think of everything. She said she'll be in touch. Takes you a moment to remind yourself how to operate this thing, and you find that its phone book is blank. There's no Wi-Fi connectivity and no saved messages. It's got a version of Snake, though.
Thank God.
The bartender is already over at the other end of her domain, taking orders from patrons. With your Anarch contact nowhere in sight, you decide it's time to move on for the night. Hopefully the name you put down will at least pique Mia's interest, even if it turns out you were spitballing. And I think that is a solid place to stop. I'm gonna go ahead and.
Damn, I got greedy. I didn't even have the blood border. I should just beat the shit out of that guy.
Yeah, I was surprised that the Dominate didn't give you the blood border, but
Yeah.
we will we'll go ahead and stay put, and I think from there we'll go ahead and call it a week. We will certainly finish next week. There's no way. I forgot. I always think of this game as being very short, but that is also because I usually read it in my brain, which reads much faster than I do out loud. And so I think of this game as being a lot shorter than it is if you're reading aloud. And so I think next week we will certainly finish things, and we might actually finish it at a respectable time in terms of stream length. But yeah, if not, it'll probably end a little early, but that's fine. And so yeah. Thank you all for coming out and hanging out with us, and we will be back next week with the final episode of Coteries of New York. Say goodbye to chat, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Toodles.